Usually wait a second. Let it cruise off. There you go. Get to see your face in full screen now.
Groovy.
That's right. This song every time. Big ups to MB14 making the intro track. We're back again, episode 27, right here live and direct on Swissbeatbox. Hope you guys are having a fabulous day so far, ladies and gentlemen. Wherever you're tuning in from around the world, I saw in the chat people were coming in from Mexico, India, Kazakhstan, US, Italy. So there's people wanting to go and know about what's about to go down right here, live and direct. One more time, Beyond the Beats, episode 27. It's your host, Scott Jackson. And again, I hope you guys are all staying safe, sound, happy, and keeping those beatboxes going. So make some noise. Jeez. Now, if I were to tell myself at 16 that I would have the opportunity to sit down with the man I'm about to introduce, I would have to pinch myself and be really confused of how I got to this spot. So I'm super, super excited to go and get into this conversation, ladies and gentlemen, because today we have from the UK, representing Mr. Lee Potter, a.k.a. the multi-vocalist, a.k.a. Kill Every Lip Action, a.k.a. Killa Kela, a.k.a. the man, the myth, the legend, the Don, Killa Kela.
Live. What's good, Scott?
What are you saying?
Yeah, I'm good. What are you saying? Vibes.
I'm excited. I'm excited, can't lie.
Me too. I've got to say, I'm super stoked to be here. Really, love to everybody out there for hanging on there. We're going to give some fucking heavy conversations right now, so we're jumping in, huh?
Yes, sir. Once again, thank you for coming on. It looks like it. You already said, but y'all good? You're pumped up? You're excited?
I'm ready,
You've
bro.
been crushing it, man. You've been crushing it.
Yo, I'm ready. Like I said to you before we jumped into this, it's no holds barred for me. I'll tell it like it is. We're going to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Anything they want to hear about, know about, we're talking about this shit. You know what I mean? I've got some legacy to unload and upload, you know what I mean?
That's what is up, ladies and gentlemen. You about to learn today. You about to learn today right here. So once again, I think people are watching. I assume so. It looks like it is. So I'm not going to waste any more time. So let's get right into it, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, about to go and find out what's happening beyond the beats. And like that, let's go and play that little outro of the beat. Fish? Yeah. So what are you saying, man?
I'm good, man.
Nice to see your face. You're looking lively and well. You got the new microphone rocking. You got the
man,
set up. You've been crushing the podcast. Man, it's good to see you.
Yeah, man, I'm good. I'm a happy camper. I went in a little bit too hard drinking last night, but other than that, I'm all right. I'm all systems go. It's been a crazy time, and one thing that I'm really digging is these opportunities. You know what I mean? Like we don't get a chance to do this stuff like nearly enough, right?
100%. The availability of people because they are stuck at home, and actually, you can have the opportunity for a conversation like this. You can have the opportunity for you can go and have some of your friends and people that you've known and worked with over the years, like a DJ Qbert, come on and do your podcast, man. So you could have the availability of these people to go and bring them on and showcase them to the world. And I don't know, I'm just so happy to legitimately sit down, actually get a chance to talk to you. And in real life, when this happens, we'll crack a beer ourselves.
We're definitely buck on that. We'll have a couple of drinks for sure. You mentioned as a youth being introduced to me as a beatboxer on entry of me doing what I did in the beginning. It's a funny one, and it always blows my mind because you guys are like you're like the beatbox scene is an organism, and it constantly moves. It's this ever changing energy, and to hear that from you, particularly with the strength that you have as a host and a kind of figurehead in the scene. I really appreciate that, brother.
Oh man, I meant it because it's like when I started out, there was I got introduced with the Michael Winslow and Kenny Muhammad, Rahzel, and you're right up there, and Scratch and Biz and Buffy and all that stuff. But I remember watching you and being like, whoa, this guy's doing it differently. And that's one thing I always really, really appreciated about your style that you've created, and not only just in the way that you beatbox necessarily, because that word multi-vocalist, I like that a lot of the way it was a describer, but that was brought in by, who was that guy? 2020 or no 2000 and what's his name here? But there's a guy that coined that term when you were working with him.
Yeah, Mark Splinter. Mark Splinter.
Yeah, and you actually think about that instead of just being a beatboxer, multi-vocalist.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
Before we even get into anything, I usually like to start these things off with a quote that I found from people. In 2009, Human Beatbox interview, when you were being interviewed on the side of the road there before one of your shows, you said, when asked any advice to give to up-and-comers, you said, shoot above your weight. People might not like hearing what you're doing, but it doesn't mean that you can't win their hearts. And as long as you have good roots in what you believe in, then just keep going. Drive hard and be creative and just do you. Don't copy other people's shit. Don't emulate other things. Just be yourself and push the boundaries and be able to do what you do.
Yeah, for sure.
I like that quote a lot because it really, again, speaks on the originality of stuff. And that's something that I think's getting harder and harder to find necessarily in the scene today, because beatboxers start off with so many examples, with so much shit there, instead of starting off with just doing stuff and being like, oh, I got to go and figure out my own way. And having these inspirations is great, but that idea of not emulating people and really pushing to go and keep original and thinking of it your own way is like bang on. And I really, really like that about you specifically.
Oh, thank you. Look, bro, without sounding like an old head, like, I'm like, bro, like, originality is hard to find. Everybody like magpie picks elements of things that inspired them. And 9 times out of 10, the thing that you got off on when you were 11 or 12 years old ultimately will be the thing that gets you off throughout your life. That is just fact. You know what I mean? Like, if you grew up listening to 50 Cent, if you grew up listening to Lil Wayne, okay, you can have your, your ins and outs with it. Yeah, okay, I used to like Lil Wayne. But when it comes down to the nuts and bolts, like years on, you'll appreciate the thing that got you off is the thing that gets you off. And at its core, you're going to be inspired by the things that get you off. If you're not, then it's weird. But, however, you've got to know the difference between what's copying and biting and what is inspired. I see a lot of people in the beatbox scene, just basically ripping each other off. I do see it. And look, I'm not, you know what I mean? I'm not really one in any place to make a critique on anybody's style and what they're about. But I've seen it all. And in beatboxing, and it just feels like sometimes people copy each other's stuff. It's not particularly healthy, because people, me included, have their time in the sun, and it don't last forever. The contribution that people put in are individual sounds. For people to then copy them not only shortens the shelf life of the person that created the beat, or the idea, or the sound, but it becomes so throwaway. Everyone takes it and it's theirs. I like the idea of advancing a sound. I love the idea of like taking something like that Reaps did and then morphing it into something crazy. That I love. But it's just the idea of people just ripping for the sake of learning something to say they can do it and not taking it anywhere. It does my head in.
No, I agree. There's been points where, again, another interview you were asked about Rahzel and being like, you could go and try to do his If Your Mother Only Knew and be like, okay, so then people are like, oh, he's doing the Rahzel thing. But then there's someone that can come up to you and be like, oh, the Britney Spears slave beat that you made. Be like, oh, I can do that too. And you're like, yeah, but you didn't make it though. You didn't come up with this concept. And every time you do it, it's just a different version of what I've done already. And again, if you're not going to go and change it and make it your own and encompass this into like a new, as you said, morph it into something new and exciting, it is kind of interesting to go and hear people doing cut for cut things on stage.
Yeah, it is for sure. It is for sure. I did that Britney Spears. I actually did the Britney Spears thing with a sense of irony. It wasn't so much like, oh, I liked Britney Spears, let's do Britney Spears. It was more ironic because, everyone was on that at the time, mimicking other tunes, which, yeah, in many respects is plagiarism. But then what part of beatboxing isn't plagiarism? What I am loving about the beatbox scene right now is people are going head to head and challenging new sounds which have never been done before. Like the originators, the people that are really doing their shit right now, they are really, really pushing boundaries. And with all my critique on like people biting each other's stuff on the first statement you said, I also do feel like it's like turntablism right now. You know what I mean? It's like it's gone down that road where, you know, there's people out there that are pioneering a bigger mission, which I kind of dig. I love the fact that there's some new sounds that have never been done before, and yeah, I like that. I do like that.
Sounds are so exciting, man. I love hearing that new version of stuff. Even when people like combinations. That's one thing that I thought was always so interesting that's coming out recently that I've been seeing a lot of is someone like someone's going to go and pair two sounds that have never really been put together. They pair them up together to create this new thing, and you're like, oh, that was that, but that was how did you go and put them together? Like when your mind was like, okay, I'm gonna take these things and just mash them up together, and all of a sudden, yeah, I can do that.
Yeah. I also really dig that the champs of the moment, the people that are really doing shit, are very identifiable. D-Lo's like one of my favorites because it doesn't matter where he places the sounds that he places. A, you know it's him, and B, they always sound fucking fresh no matter how many times you hear them. They always sound fresh. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, and I do agree with you too. It's like I was talking to Pension Kata, world female beatbox champion, rep in Bulgaria, just a killer beatboxer, and she was like, she mentioned this that she could close her eyes back in the day and know who that person was, and then more recently it's been a hard time, like until most recently, but there was a period of time where she was closing her eyes and couldn't really make out who that person was. Now, if I were to think about it back, I could close my eyes and just have my ears open and be like, "That's Killa, that's Rahzel, that's Scratch, that's Eclipse," you know, and go down the line. But then there's a part where I will say there's some originality, but I'd love for people to go and continue on, as you said, exploring new sounds and really creating something that's their own.
Yeah, I think for me with the Killa Kela stuff, with the beatbox especially, my whole thing was, you know, when I got into beatboxing, Lee, you have to put it in perspective. I wasn't a thing. There was no Rahzel. I'd never been into hip hop. I was about 7 years old and I was doing it, playing my toys. It wasn't a thing. And you know, pushing on into like when I was like 16 or 17, I heard Rahzel for the first time, like the rest of us. And yeah, I mean, I was just like completely blown away. I was just like, but I also knew that I could do what he did. But I was just a kid. But I knew I could do what he did. But what I would need to do is to find new sounds that juxtaposition that take me away from what he does, to find an individual lane. And being European as well, and no one out here had ever represented Europe at the time, I was like, all right, look, I'm just gonna do this shit. I'm gonna focus on finding that individual sound. And moving on though, you know, if you talk about 2020, I'm more about retaining my own sound. It's like being influenced by other beatboxers is I just have to put myself in the place of where I belong. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not trying to be the next like beatbox battle superstar. It's like A, you don't make a ton of money off of it, and B, it's like there are incredible levels and a lot of it is youth and tenacity. That's it. And yeah, I like to retain the quality of sounds that I can do that no one else can do. That's my thing.
100%. I always think that if the generations after myself aren't extremely better, it like aren't way more, not necessarily talent is not the word, but like if they're not coming up with these ideas and doing stuff that would have seemed impossible from a Dougie Fresh era to, you know, the next one and continuing on and looking at the progression of beatboxing. Yeah. I think we would have failed. The generations before fail unless the ones after them are not significantly more technical and significantly pushing sounds.
Yeah. Well, what is in like you feel like our job is done in a way.
Well, let's still continue. That's why they have people like you know, still going and doing shows and proving that you can go and do this as a lifelong career, taking it and doing albums with it, taking it and still showing that there's so much to these sounds and having these conversations. And someone like me getting the availability to go and hype a crowd up so they understand that they're ready to go and listen to these amazing artists on stage and actually be ready to go and fully give them the energy that they're giving in and give it back to them, you know?
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, you do. And you do it so well, brother. Honestly, like I think I did the beatbox camp one and I I did the hosting of the beatbox camp thing, and I just got the feeling that Scott should be doing it. I was like, because they were saying Scott would normally do this. Scott would normally do that. I'm like, cool. Look, do you want to call Scott up? Do you want to give him a call? Yeah, no, he smashes it. I think with a lot of this is I've always, when it comes to doing live shows, I've always been look, I don't like singing to the choir. You know what I mean? Like, if everyone in the room is a beatboxer and we're all just like, breaking ribs to suck ourselves off a little bit. I like going to places, right? I like going to places where people don't know what beatboxing is. They don't know, and you've really got to stand on your own like a comedian and give it the big ones to people that don't know what beatboxing is. You know what I mean? That's the shit. I like those kind of shows.
Yeah, that it never gets old to see new faces that are never seen beatboxing. Just that just bewilderment, like they're watching some sort of magic trick happen. But it's just what did someone say? It was like vocal wizardry, like to go and look at a stage and be like, now how is he doing? Now how is she going to put these two? Now how's this happening? Where like it's just that lovely bewilderment that you can see on someone's face.
Shit's real. It's like that. It's ventriloquism meets that, and it throws people the fuck. I mean, especially the people, right? There's an age demographic, right, that are older than us, and they'll come and see a show, and they'll be like, "Oh, I saw Police Academy. I didn't think I liked beatboxing, but I liked you." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'll take that.
Yeah, thanks, Jim. I appreciate that.
Jim. Yeah, thanks, Jim.
Thanks, Jim, and I appreciate that.
Anne. Yeah.
Oh man, but I want to go and talk to you a little bit. Just at the beginning of your career, I was listening to stuff and interviews that you've done before, and as you just stated before, you're around 7, 8 years old. You start making sounds like most kids do when you're playing with toys. And Mark Martin from the US did a TED talk about that, where he's making the noises and explaining it. He's kind of telling your story, and maybe without even hearing it, because I feel like most kids make those sounds, whatever sound it is that you're making the gunfire sound, making the sound of whatever, and you're playing with these toys. And then you said that you were beatbox to Grange Hill theme song, and you'd be listening in and playing along with it because it had a cool groove to it. And you also then told me, like, again, I'm just reiterating what you said, because I love the backstories too, that you found your dad's old practice tapes from when he was a drummer, and you'd be listening along and just kind of mimicking along without even thinking of it being beatboxing. I find that interesting that before you had knowledge of what this actually was, you were already not only making sounds but also mimicking drum and trying to follow along, because people do scat and do like but I'm sure that being 7 or 8 years old, hearing that tape and already trying to go along with it, definitely influenced you later on as to go and like, wait a second, this is what beatboxing is. This is a thing. It's not just something that I do, like having that realization. And you said that you, big heavy metal fan, really into heavy metal. And when you got a tape confiscated at school, someone slid you an NWA tape.
Yeah,
you
that's
started
the
listening to that. And you said as soon as you heard that, it was hip hop. Hip hop was something that you wanted to go and live, breathe, and be a part of. So what was it about that tape and NWA for you specifically in that time period that made you really, really want to get involved with it?
All right, cool. There's a couple of bits in here. But I mean, first of all, I always found, referring to what was beatboxing and playing with the toys and the Grange Hill effect. I think I often, and this is only subconsciously now that I recognize I used to think it, and it was, you'd see Tina Turner. I remember seeing Tina Turner and even Michael Jackson to a point on TV, and I would just be like, why are they singing when they could? What's the thing about singing that is any different to beatboxing? It's like, to me, it just seemed weird that I was thinking them steps and that wasn't being reiterated as a thing in music. It just used to do my head, and that's, I guess that's where the multi-vocal thing came in, because I just felt, if you're really good as an artist and a performer, you should be able to do everything. That's just by design. So it wasn't, the beatbox thing wasn't exclusive to just people that were making noises with their mouth. It was more, why can't these people do this? If they're so amazing on TV, why can't they do that? That was my first thing. And the drums were on the tape of my dad's, this hi-fi system was like sacred. It was like, you can't just go and take my dad's headphones. You know what I mean? It was like, you can't just take his tapes, And when I heard them, I knew my dad was a drummer, but yeah, I started emulating them, like just the rhythms and stuff like that, which made it a little bit made the beatboxing more, in line with music. And I was super into like Motley Crue, Metallica. I was heavy in like Napalm Death, even Poison and Guns N' Roses. All these, I was into them. And then when I heard Anthrax and Public Enemy, that changed the whole game for me. And I started listening to hip hop more. And then I got past that tape of NWA, and I was like, oh shit, I already had my tapes confiscated because the Guns N' Roses tape had swearing on it. Now I'm really in trouble, right? Because I'm just
Treading
like,
that line.
yeah, this is the line, right? And I'm thinking to myself, well, this is the way to go. Like this conscious message and this freedom of creativity, often overlooked in music scenes now. It's almost like so normal for people to have rappers feature on other people's tracks. Hip hop created that. Hip hop fucking created that. They also created the graffiti culture. They created the street art that you walk down your street and you see. It leans itself so heavily on a creative side. It's crazy. And when I heard beatboxing on the radio, because I was listening to hip hop, I thought to myself, oh my God, it was Biz Markie. It was Biz Markie at the Brixton Academy. And I heard it and I was like, yo, I heard it on tape. Before Rahzel, I heard it. And I was like, that's incredible. Like, I'm doing that. But, and I kind of used it. It was almost like the prototype, because I didn't know that it was so in sync with hip hop. And then when Rahzel came through, that was just like, that was crazy. That was crazy. And I don't think I've ever actually, I'll throw this out there now. When I came through, and this wasn't easy being like a British guy in Europe, where Europe doesn't really, I mean, it's got drum and bass, it's got, it's got these kind of genres, but like hip hop, it has it, but it's not publicly recognized outside of Moni Love, I suppose, but or Slick Rick. But to come through and be in parallel with Rahzel at a time, or at least be considered in keeping, or in the company of,
in the conversation of, yes.
Yeah, it blew my mind. But my hip hop instinct at the time was, oh, I'm gonna take the fucking crown. Because he would do If Your Mother Only Knew. Okay, I'll do Mama Said Knock You Out. Like literally, like I was going for it. And in retrospect, I think I was perhaps a little bit, I don't think in my mind I gave my hero enough kind of credit because I was so thirsty. I wanted it and I was battling for it. And to a degree, I got it. But what I also recognize is that without him, he was such a huge benchmark. And to be fair, now when I think back, I was pretty much keeping his throne warm while he was over there in America doing his thing. It was just an availability that I found, and I jumped straight on it. And he was a trailblazer, and I want to give him props because, just shit goes down the way it goes down and stuff like that. And I know there was some animosity from his side. I'm pretty sure of it, because I was just like fucking gunning. I was like, the hip hop kid, you know what I'm saying? I was like, I didn't give a fuck. Come on, come at me. But he's a good dude.
I love Rahzel, man. He's definitely one of the biggest inspirations, not only for myself, but like just the scene. Without Rahzel, wouldn't be pushed the same way it was. He's like he's up there with that Dougie Fresh, Michael Winslow era of, and yourself involved in that conversation as well, man. But that's what it's crazy to think that it's kind of a cheesy saying, but it's 100% true. Work until your heroes are your peers,
And without question, it went past that, but it wasn't because of me being in any way in competition or beating my hero. It was nothing like that. It was more, I wanted to make it clear that there's like fucking a handful, like maybe 5 people in the world doing this on an international level at the time. Like people, you forget that. So you've got to come diverse because you want to show people that there is a wealth of abilities. You could put them all on the same stage and they don't sound like each other. That was that was my mental, and finding new ways of thinking things through, right? If you're hearing him do a new snare, you're like, right, well, I'm going to do another snare, like a completely different snare. And snares were always my thing, man. I used to love snares.
Yeah.
So I love that shit. So yeah, it was just making sure that there was clarity so that people could differentiate, like you said at the top, differentiate who Scratches, who Eclipse was, who Faithless Effects was, who Rahzel was. Big up all of those. Those for me, they're my real kind of industry peers, I think.
I agree with that, and it was, again, it was a pleasure, and still is a pleasure to go. And before this interview and talking to you on this podcast, man, I got to go and look back and look at the videos and being like, I remember watching that. I remember like waiting on my terrible dial-up internet, just waiting for this video to download. Like,
LimeWire,
we'll get this. Yeah. LimeWire to get this, and then it comes up, and I'm like, yes. And it's choppy, and watching it back where it's actually not that choppy is way better.
Dude, I'm telling you, I remember when YouTube first came out, right? I was doing a fashion shoot, right, for Esquire magazine. No, FHM magazine. The album had just come out. My first album just come out on Sony BMG. They got me down this thing, and the fashion stylist came up to me. He goes, "Yeah, I've been seeing a lot of your videos lately. You heard of YouTube?" And I'm like, "Nah, no." He's like, "Yo, check it out. Like you're going clear. Like people are posting your videos up. You probably don't even know they're doing it." Fuck did I not? I didn't know. I didn't even know what this YouTube thing was. It was 2006, right? I go on there and I'm like, oh man, the virality of that just changed everything, and that's why I got out. It was because people were just putting up the videos, in reasonably good quality as well.
How did go on? I'm down to go on that tangent like for a second, but like. How is it for you to see how the scene's changed, and also just in general music industry, where if you have for relatively cheap, right, you can go and have a record, you can record yourself, do a nice looking video and post it up, and then it's just out there in the world, and off of a video that you take by yourself or someone takes of you, like you said, without even maybe your knowledge or consent or anything like that, goes up, and all of a sudden it's popping and stuff. So for you to go and have to go from when you very first started of, got into the studio, taking an 8-track and going and doing track over track over track over track and trying to get some tension there before there was this online social media type stuff. How is it for you to go and see positive and negatives just of the new viral sensation / content that's so readily available for anybody that has a smartphone, basically?
Well, from a live point of view, I think I've always been an advocate of people recording my stuff. You can never have enough videos going around. At the start of the show, I was like, record everything I'm about to do. Do not press stop until I'm done. That was my mantra the whole time, because I just felt like these are small pockets of people. And who knows what this internet thing is going to do. But in 2007, 2008, I mean, there's some shows I wish people had recorded, but it just didn't surface. But I told everyone to do it, and they did it. And there's a positive and negative to that. Again, I can't stress that having gone through the career so far that I have, everything's seasonal, and even your favorite artist can't keep up with the demand if all of his stuff is online. Impossible. You know, because some next young gun will come in and he'll take what you do and then double it, make it better. So there's a pros and cons to that, because if we've got video out of all your stuff, I'm pretty sure everyone's heard my routines by now, but it is what it is. I think it's a good conduit for getting the name out there, and that impact in itself is career worthy. You know what I mean? I think from an audio point of view and how it's come about. I mean, when I put I've done like 5 albums. I've done 5 albums, and all of them are different because they all came out at different times of the industry. I would say the massive plus now is you can do everything yourself. The downside is that there are the same, if they're not the same, my puppet masters that are controlling the numbers and how much money you get from Spotify. There's certainly new ones out there that will control who's hot and who's not. Whether it's an online TV show, whether it's anything, you know what I mean? There's gatekeepers, and that happens with all industry. So the pluses are that you can go and throw this stuff out like super quick, not even think about it, and it costs you zero money compared to back in the day. But the flip side is it's congested, and there's a lot of things, and there are still gatekeepers. So yeah, I think it has. I think the essence is more, and don't stop. Just as long as you're creating, just keep creating. That's my opinion.
That's a well spoken answer. I like that. That's a good way of saying that, because it's funny to not funny. It's just interesting to see people that have continued up with the times and continue to go and let it go and put out new stuff and keep current and keep on trying to go and push. And then some people have kind of fallen to the wayside of just being like, well, I did that back like 6 years ago. You didn't hear my thing from 6 years ago? And they're like, nah, but what are you putting out now? What about now? What about now? So there is a new pressure on, like, I guess, artists in general to continuously have that upkeep and continuously push their art, because you can't rest on, what do you call that? Rest on your laurels or whatever. You can't just be sitting there and be like, well, I did that. So
yeah. Exactly. Yeah. And Eclipse once said to me, repetition is key. When you think about his career and the repetition, I love Eclipse, by the way. That's my dog.
I love Eclipse. Sorry, I got it.
Hey, listen, I'm serious when I say this. You want the best beatboxer in the world, Eclipse is your man.
Eclipse smashes it.
Anybody that says anything else is full of shit.
Eclipse smashes it. He smashes it. Like, he's your hip hop beatboxer. Do you know what I mean? Do you remember that when he had it was Reefs and him, they did the one-off just for fun battle at the DMCs?
Yeah, that was like two worlds colliding.
Yo, I remember watching that, being at home and being like, all right, yo, like, I got my stuff all set up, ready to go and watch this thing now. Like, I'm gonna go and watch this. Too ill. If anybody's out there hasn't watched that, you'll go and search that up after you watch this, because that's a heck of a battle, and just a clash of styles, like you said, and it's just, I don't know.
Get your gun fingers ready. Yeah, it's just mad when you watch it. Individuality again, you know, like we're talking about Reeps there again, and I would say him, D-Lo, Napalm, Rahzel, hold tight, Rahzel, Thomas. I always get his name wrong. Thomas Akari.
Thomas Akra,
yeah. I knew it. I knew that. I didn't even need a question. That's my boy. But I always say to him, look, dude, how do you say his name again? These guys, the individuality in them, you know, is nuts. But there was something I think for the Reeps versus Eclipse, that was an interesting one, because I felt like it brought it demonstrated how different beatboxing was. You know what I'm saying? Like, I do remember, though, I was a judge when I first ever heard Reeps at UK Beatbox Championships, okay? And there was this disparity, right, between the beatboxers that were the crowd pleasers and the beatboxers that were doing the techers. That was very real. And I said this to Harry before on my podcast. I said to him, dude, I remember sitting there at the judges' table, and I saw you. He didn't go through. When you talk about those kind of rock and roll stories where no one gave a shit, like when Harry first started, people just didn't get it. I fucking saw it, and I was like, yo, this is nuts. He's doing sounds that I've never heard before, but they didn't get it because it wasn't crowd pleasing. But as he walked past, I could see he was kind of pent up and a little nervous because it was his first time. But I shook his hand. I was like, dude, I know I've had a few drinks, but that was fire.
Yes, that's always a pleasurable thing to go and see that person that goes and just wows you. It's like the first time I ever saw, what was his name, Hiss from South Korea, when he came to Grand Beatbox Battle. I remember the first time seeing him, and I was just like, oh, we're crazy. All right. Like, where are you coming from, 16-year-old South Korean gentleman, and you're just gonna go and smash the stage and end up, I think you got to like the finals or third place battle or something, and it was just wild to me to go and see it.
Yeah, man, it was always going to be crazy when that territory opened up to beatboxing. That was just a matter of time, and when Asia took, I mean, they are just a whole nother world, man. Crazy. The way that they're leveling up now is just madness, isn't it?
100%, and the fans and the base that they have over there. All the videos I've ever seen that come out of specifically like Chinese championships or I've had the pleasure of going down with Mike Lee. Big shouts to Mike Lee, who runs the Asia Beatbox Championships.
Mike Lee.
And it's the crowds are nuts. They're so ready for it. They want to go and give you that energy, and it's amazing to go and watch. So like, I'm excited to see the future, man. Just in general too, because again, when you said that when you were doing it, and this is true, there were about 5 people that were doing it at this international level that you could have that conversation and be like, well, have you heard of this guy? Oh yeah, well, have you heard of this guy? And you kind of go back and forth of being like, well, my favorite's that guy, my favorite's this guy. Now there's just huge. It's wild how many beatboxers there are. Like I wish in some ways I did, but it's interesting that I didn't, of going into the online community so much. And ever since this stuff started, I've had the opportunity to host the online world champs and Grand Beatbox Battle online, and having it just an online battle gave the availability to some of these people that maybe don't have the funds to go and travel, maybe have been known in the world of Discord or TeamSpeak or all these online platforms. And to hear some of these guys come out of the woodwork where I'm like, I never heard of this guy named Antilt before, and Antilt just smashes it.
For real?
And he's just smashing it, and just the online thing is so interesting to me because there's so many good beatboxers that never have got the opportunity to go and be on those world stages yet, but online they're sitting and they're comfortable in their home. Maybe they're shy of the stage or something, but so they're just sitting with a microphone and they can go and focus in. Yeah. And they've been doing that online beatbox scene, and it's just wild to me to go and see how far people are pushing it. So super excited.
Yeah. I got to say as well, and just to add value to what you're saying, I love the fact that every cloud has a silver lining, and there's kids that like you say would never have the opportunity to even exercise their skills. It's a no mean feat jumping in and doing this stuff from your bedroom. It's no mean feat. It's like live, there is room for error. There's always room for error live, because you've got the impact of the sound, you've got the ambiance, you've got people, you've got half cut drunk people, and everyone's just being a bit kind of you're their soundtrack. So I mean, but when it's just a one-to-one with a camera, even a breath is accentuated. Even that is like a lot. So I've got to hand it to them. I mean, and I think the technology that's happening right now, that's what's creating this new breed of artistry. It's crazy outside of beatboxing as well. It's just mad. It's great.
That's funny. And an earlier interview you did, and again, this is like 2005. So you're 15 years. You said 20, but they asked you, what do you think is going to happen the next 20 years? And you said, well, technology is going to play a huge role in the next 15, 20 years of there being the massive explosion online. And you were correct on that one. Now, I'm not saying Notre Dame is here. I'm not saying Notre Dame is.
Hey, listen, you can take horses to water, but you can't make them drink. You know what I mean?
True story.
But I would say this though, and I'm only saying that from the point of view of like, hey, listen, I said it then, but that doesn't necessarily mean. I tell you what does happen with technology though, that was definitely unforecast. You have a reset button. Like as soon as people become super famous on a platform, you don't know who they are. It doesn't matter who they are. But every piece of history prior to that point where it's cut off. You know what I mean? It's cut off. I'm really fortunate, and I think a lot of other beatboxers are, the Rahzels and the Scratches, the Faiths, the Beardy Mans, the Eclipses, the people that come through with, pre-2009, to have a beatbox community that values, respects, and, has a sense of R&D in their DNA, to want to know the heroes, the history, the past, the people that, the predicators of style and stuff. Because if it wasn't for that, we you know what I mean? Like I believe so. We wouldn't be here. We wouldn't be talking like this.
No, I 100% agree, and it's been a pleasure to see it grow, and I think it's important, as you said, it is definitely important to know where things came from, so you have an understanding of how to go and hopefully shape the way it's going to be going forward, so that previous mistakes aren't made. Maybe there won't be need for there to be these confrontations or anything that comes up, and just be able to go and guide it in a positive way and make sure that positivity is continuous, because that's one also thing that I found online. The only thing I don't like about it is people will sit there in a YouTube chat room or whatever chat room, and I guess it's just the nature of like humanity with online. You're anonymous, so you just type whatever the heck you're thinking, and it's always jokes and memes and stuff. I'm watching some of the times, I'm like, you would never say that. you would never type like what you just typed. You would never say to someone in real life. Mostly because I hope that someone would have raised you better than that. But I don't care for the disrespect that happens sometimes.
We're probably getting it now, bro. Have a look at the comments. We're probably getting that right now. You know what I mean? Well, these warriors. You know what?
And this again, it is what it is, man.
It is, man. Like, listen, nothing beats you more. Nothing beats you more than 2002. I released Permanent Marker album. All right. I sold 15,000 out of my bag at shows, right? And that was a big deal for me because I was like, it was still relatively unknown. It wasn't like we were trying to invent the wheel here, but beatboxing on record, full stop, had only been within a hip hop confines of hip hop. So I was trying to do some other stuff and, crossing over into drum and bass and passing these things through. As soon as you start going to a wider audience like that, critique is I remember getting critiqued about an album and I felt like I took years and years to make it, took ages. And then somebody in NME magazine goes and slates it. And it breaks your heart because you're just like, yo, like I just spent so much time, but you immediately get thick skinned. I think that stuff's in abundance now, like people are from audiences everywhere. They have this self-entitlement where they can critique and say what they want. And, I guess that's their agenda. That's what they want to do, But it comes from a deep place. I think people that do have something negative to say about people, you've got to embrace them because they're deep down, they're not happy people. You know what I mean? You can read it in between the lines in it, So don't do it because it exposes you as being a bit of, a bit of a low person and not happy with something that's going on in your life. And maybe you should have a chat with someone about it.
Absolutely, man. It's
I want Hobbit to come in and go, he's got that.
Yes, Hobbs is the man. And speaking of Hobbs too, I remember he found before you put out Permanent Marker, you put out some other stuff too, man. When you were 16 years old with your boy, what was his name, Prime, and you had the rap tapes that you were selling out of your bag. And I remember seeing a photo like a long time ago where Hobbs had found it, took a picture of it, and you're sitting there, trying to hawk the tapes and get your name out there as a rapper. And when you first started beatboxing too, that idea of going and pushing it and getting that opportunity to go and perform, I believe you said the first time you actually performed on stage, you were chilling with the 360 Physicals crew, and it was at the Black Alley Cat or something like this.
Alley Cat, yeah.
So you're at Alley Cat. The power goes down as many beatboxers have probably tried to do and had the opportunities happen where the CD's not working. Yo, this isn't working. The DJ gets in, you're just like, I
got this.
I got this. So how was that experience for you the first time publicly being through a sound system to perform for people and not just to mates, people that you're chilling with, rapping with, and doing that with? How was that for you to go and put yourself out there? And what was the reaction garnished?
Well, man, Jesus, there's a lot of layers to that because again, we're talking about 98, 99, bro. Like, I'd already been beatboxing. I'd done the 10,000 hours by then, and so jumping up, it was just like if it was like medieval times, I probably would have been hung because, do you know what I mean, on some voodoo shit. Because for people that it was just so much for them, they just couldn't comprehend that someone A was doing it and B had the actual time to have done it. You know what I mean? It's like practicing doing that, but it was such a human interest to people, and for me doing it, I was like, yo, boom, boom, that's loud. And you get girls attracted to you. You get free drink for doing it. Sign me up, man. I'm in. Like, it really was, man. The 17, I wasn't allowed in the club for starters. The 17-year-old me was just like off to the races.
Here we go. I like everything that's about this right now.
Yeah.
Get a microphone. You're going to give me one of those for free, and I'm not even supposed to be here. Excellent.
Yeah. I am not supposed to be here. B, this is not supposed to be that cool. You know what I mean? So, okay, if I can try and make this cool, then maybe I can stay a little longer. You know what I mean? That was just my...
Man, that's people have done that, though. And I find that a lot of people that I've been talking to on this podcast and just in general in beatboxing and stuff, and I've done it myself, is that idea of when you first start out, and it's not even that you want to show off necessarily. It's not a show off, egotistical thing to go and whatever, but you see an opportunity, you're like, there's a microphone at this place. If I could just get on the microphone, I could show what I can do, and maybe someone else will see it and be like, "Oh, okay, we can use that person here." Or, "Hey, there's, start up that weave and being able to go and do it." And whether it's from street performing to going just to random little bars, and then you just kind of do the thing, and everyone kind of stops and looks at you, and they go back to it. And one of the videos that you did with Eclipse is when you went through. This is skipping forward many years, but then you guys went through Brick Lane and you just smashed like 6 shows out in one day, just being like, we're gonna go here, 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 and it was all Renegade, and you guys didn't have anything prepared. It was just grabbing the microphone and just doing that. Though watching that video was like, I don't know, it put such a smile on my face because I'm like, I did that in Canada. I did that in Toronto, like legitimately.
Dude, that whole video was like people's career trajectory on steroids. It's like it was more contained, you know. A lot of it is just like that happens over the course of like, I don't know, 6 months, but we did 6 in like 6 minutes. It was funny. It was good. Yeah, I mean, the great thing about Eclipse as well, and as somebody I've collabed with, I think I've collabed with him as a beatboxer the most. Like me and him go back quite a way. We've done a lot of shows together. We put out lots of tunes together. And whenever he's over, we buck. So, yeah, working with Eclipse, his spontaneity, you got to step up to his speed, and that's one thing that I loved about doing those sort of exercises. Concepts are great, aren't they? You know, you can't go wrong. Can't go wrong with a good concept.
100%. It was, I don't know, it was just dope. I love what I see you guys jump on. Even it was 2012. You guys just put out your record that you did together, and then Crowd Control, and then you went on stage and did the showcase. One thing I loved about that showcase that you did at the World Champs, and it's something that I've talked about this with the Dave. Big shout outs to Emotions again.
I'll tell Emotions all day.
That guy's good dude, solid dude.
And Matt the Alien, big up Matt the Alien as well. Yes. Hold tight. Hope he's doing all right in hospital. Hope he's okay. You know, that's my dog. Yeah,
I agree. I hope he's doing really good.
Yeah, for real. I don't like that. I don't like that show, bro. Like, I don't think I've even watched it.
No, but it was. I liked watching it because it showed a different side of not just being one person, one microphone. It showed how to go and collab, how to go and make music, how to go and expand it too. It's not just being, you know, here's some technicalities that I worked on, or here's a cover that I worked on, or here's something that I'm doing with, you know. But you two together, it was interesting for me to watch because it shows now where people are making, like right now this year, guys like, you know, Napalm, Gene, Amit from That's Just Beatbox House, and then collabs.
Beatbox House as well. Woo!
But all these people are starting to build actual records and albums and putting them out and creating new music with beatboxing and being able to do a show where they have more to it. Like if you've ever seen Gene Shinozaki do a show, he has his a drum pad ready to go. He does beatboxing on it. He sings. He has samples ready to go. But it's not just a beatbox show. It's him being himself, and that's something that you said for multiple times. The way you put out records is the idea that it's not a beatbox album. It's a Killa Kela album. You know?
Yeah.
And I really like that thought process behind that, because have you been? I guess the word is like pigeonholed. If you do it, you're kind of putting yourself in this corner, being like, oh, he's a beatbox guy.
Yeah.
He's just a beatbox guy. But now when you go ahead and do showcases and have that availability to do more than just beatboxing necessarily, but perform with tracks and perform with bands and stuff, and being able to go and expand that, I thought it was just super interesting to see that come to life. You know?
Yeah. Oh, I appreciate that. It did come to life. I mean, it was just a sentiment that it irked me in the beginning, because it was always hosted by Killa Kela or with a PA by a beat. It was like the beatbox PA comes out and then goes away, and people don't often remember it. And you know, I also, like, my role models were like Slash from Guns N' Roses. You know what I mean? Like, all of this by design, I created off the back of some of my most prominent influences, like to wear my hat the way I do with it folded up or the shades. It's like that's come from Slash, you know, because he had the top hat and the round glasses. I didn't know he was imitating T-Rex. I didn't know that. I was just like, well, I'm just going to copy my hero, because he seems to have been able to brand himself outside of the band. You know what I mean? So it was all that sort of stuff. I just didn't want to be, if you're going to really create a mark and be competitive with other genres of music and other artists, you've just got to really try hard and break the mold. And like you're saying about some of the new stuff that's coming out now, people really taking into consideration how far to take the beatbox thing and how far you can stretch your own you break limitations. I love that. And I was talking to Rahzel for my podcast that's coming out next week, and I said to him, we kind of share the same thing in common actually, because I've done some beatbox sample packs for Splice, and he's just done a beatbox sample pack, and we didn't know that we'd both been doing that, and we start talking about it, and we're like, well, yeah, because like, you know, you can have the individual components to make a beat, but other people should have those individual components as well. You then are detached from the song, but you're incredibly integrated in it. But then you become the front person of that, and it's an interesting dynamic and an awesome puzzle. One I don't think has ever really been completed. I love the idea of figuring this shit out, and I think this generation here have got a huge opportunity.
I agree that you just put that out. Body Parts, I believe, is what you called it. So,
yeah,
producers, go check that out and make yourself some sampled beats, and let's see what they could do with it.
Yeah, for real. Right? Yeah, you got the whole thing.
And when the beginning of it, before you actually put out the record where you were with what'd you call it? Before you went in and you had the Sony BMG record deal.
Yeah.
For you to go and start off, from what I can see, is you go in because you were a hip hop kid, watching MTV, getting as much hip hop as possible. People are passing you, your next door neighbor's passing you VHSs of it so you can watch it. And
you got it. You really done the research, show you, boy.
I'm listening. I love it. So you go ahead and you're getting into this hip hop thing, and you make your name Kela by taking Kilo and Nima, putting those two names together, and those are tags that you see around the area. And now you have this name, and you start writing stuff, and you send in to DJ Vadim, I think his name is Vadim or
Vadim. Yeah, that's right.
So the Russian guy that came over and he's in the UK, and he's got this record label, and you send over artwork for a possibility of being on that, but you also send him a demo tape of you beatboxing. And his answer back was just like, okay, well, the artwork, yeah, it's cool, but this beatbox thing you're doing. And he asked you the next day, because you got the confirmation that he had received the package. The next day he calls you and says, so you're coming in the studio, we're going to go and get you to start doing stuff, and also you're going to come on tour. And you're like, okay, I guess this is where this all begins. Your first thing that you put out with the DJ Mr. thing is anesthetic mouthwash.
That's right.
It's the mix.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
That's 2000.
We had an absolute headache trying to get that beatboxing sounding right. Even to this day, it still gives me nightmares.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask you. Is beginning off? How did you go? Like, how did you go about recording it? Because right now you can go through the mic that you have, the mic that I have. Even if people can go and get small mics on their cell phones, or even an iPhone has a pretty good, from what I hear, or Samsung or whatever has a pretty good mic on there. So when you were mixing that in with the DJ scratching and making it go back and forth to make this mixtape, what was the process of going into the studio and working with a DJ and figuring out how to go and make a product to go and push?
When we went out, once I got the confirmation, from Vadim that we were going to be going on a very extensive hotel tour, I was like, all right, cool. Who am I going with? And they said, oh, Mr. Thing. And I was already a member of the Scratch Perverts by then. So Mr. Thing and me were always doing shows together anyway. And I was just, oh, fucking far out. Wicked. I'll have a piece of that. So we jumped on the road and we did like 100 and... I mean, this was incredible. Now when I think about it, we did about 37 countries in like 18 months or something. We did so many shows. It was insane. And it was just like every sound check, we were trying new things. Every gig was crazy. Honestly, it was binge and purge, especially for me because there was no other beatboxers out there. It was a crack, but I learned a hell of a lot of stuff, and a lot of the stuff actually did end up on the mixtape. That as a mixtape had not been done before. Again, it was a new thing to put beatboxing on there and to go in. We had all the ideas already mapped out, so that was safe. That was cool, but just getting the sound right was, oh my god. Even now, I don't think I really listened to the stuff I've done, and when I do, I feel I wanted the energy of the live show. because everything we were doing that was in the map out of it, I was like, yeah, like it's got to sound like how we're doing it in rehearsal, you know, and it just wasn't. And I think a lot of it was trial and error. Again, it had never been done. And in retrospect, I think, you know, when you've got Ableton in front of you, you can fuck with the transients. You can, you know, you can mess with the saturation to give it that kind of crunchy live. You can put reverb on it, you can break things apart and stuff. But at that time, I was so purist and I wanted it to sound exactly how it was, exactly how I did it. And also, I'm a reasonably lazy person. Do you know what I mean? Like, I've got the Bill Gates once said, give a lazy person a hard job and they'll find the easiest way to do it. That's me, baby. Like I'm like the worst. So I'm going in, I'm beatboxing it. It's got to be absolutely perfect. In my head, I'm like, it's going to be perfect because I've got it down. And if for some reason the sound ain't right and we got to go back and do what? No way, man. Like let's try and make it work. And I think technology just hadn't caught up at that time.
No, man, listen to that back though was so, I don't know. It was dope to go and listen back to, because again, it was like if I would have closed my eyes when I was watching it and just, because there's no video attached to it, right? But that could have been a live set though. The way that you guys recreated it, I could see that working on stage and still to this day, because it brings back that whole idea of multi-vocalist. It's not just beatboxing. You're doing the scratching over top of it. You're doing some of that deep voice that you really kick off and it's just so enjoyable to listen to the whole thing. Such a hip hop thing, and being like, yeah, all right,
yeah.
Give one man one microphone.
Yeah, totally. It's that era, dude. Like, and Jesus, did we milk that shit? Like Rahzel definitely was the proprietor of that style. And when you know, it's mad to think how far it's come. But at that time, yeah, that was the order of the day. You know, it was more the unique. The USP essentially was, I guess it was a human interest. It was like, how's this person doing that? You know what I mean? And if you really, you know, you can make your gran would be like, what? How do you do that? I mean, my nan did do that, to be fair.
What's going on in that bedroom? What is he making noises for? Sitting in the washroom. But that's also another thing that I was going to ask you is, I believe your era, my era, and just around that area, that just before and afterwards, I swear that the conversations would come up of somebody using effects on the microphone. So there was such a point, you had to be so pointed of being like, nah, yo, it's all me. There's nothing in the background. There's no reverb, no whatever. All these it's just literally a microphone slightly EQ'd. That's the only thing that's been done. Now to see where people are taking it, where they go and have it paired up with different things running, being like just making it more of a show, I guess. And not even more of a show. I'm not even sure how to say this properly, but like that quote unquote, I guess, that super purist that's just like nothing's done to this. This is just the microphone. Then people now, it's not even frowned upon. It's enjoyable to listen to someone that has their bass are also triggering a bass kick as well, and having that. And I just wanted to see, what were your thoughts when you started seeing people use effects on the microphone while doing it live for an audience?
Honestly, I think my immediate reaction was, you're using that because you can't do the things you want to do. That was my honest opinion. And it was contradictory and hypocritical as well, because when I go and do my music, what am I doing? I'm adding layers. I'm So it left me in a bit of a compromise when recreating what I was doing on my records live. You know, I had to kind of fall in line to that. But I think the real people that made that change, and we got to give respect to them as well, is the people like Dub Effects, people like Beatbox, Beardy Man, without question. Like these people, they really, and there are others, don't get me wrong, but this generation that you know have stuck to their guns and and do that thing. I've got to give it to them, because that has ultimately opened the conversation to not just what's possible outside of a live environment, but what's acceptable in people's minds that will in turn allow for greater audible music of beatboxing. You know what I'm saying?
Those are the prequels, and actually still pushing it actually for the whole loop station battles that are going on today. Grand Beatbox Battle Off and Loop Station, World Champs Loop Station. and to see them go and try to go and push these boundaries of what you can do with an RC 505 right now, or now you're allowed to go and pair it with a different machine, whatever you guys want. There's many different machines that they can go and pair it with. So I always found that interesting, because I remember one of the first guys I saw doing it was, well, the first guy that I've ever seen go and do live looping was Scratch, and he just had that the little one, the little two thing, and he just kicked the beat and then just sound exactly like a record over top of it. And I'm just like, what is this? How is this possible?
Yeah, totally. And Eclipse has also gone on to do that. Hold tight, Blake Lewis as well, my boy Blake Lewis.
Oh, big up Blake.
And who's the other geezer? There was another bloke. Oh no, it's gonna kill me.
Kid Beyond.
Kid Beyond, yeah. But there's another guy who's more musical, way more musical, and he used the loop pedal. It's gonna kill me. Ignore me. Yeah. I went down a rabbit hole of hell. But I think a lot of these things, they by design, like beatboxing is like such an organism, right? And it moves in ebbs and flows. And people, they tap in, they tap out. But what they do is they contribute and add bits. And when you look at the trajectory of beatboxing and how it started to where it is, all these components make all the difference, from one man, one mic, through to using loop pedals like Blake Lewis, and then the electronic stuff like Biddy Man. Then comes Reaps, and Reaps takes this thing and manipulates it so that the sounds he's doing are synthetic and are replicable to this generation's genres, the dubstep and of the time and shit like that. And now you've got Napalm, and you've got all these like heads that are just like killing it, and you can just see how the timeline works. And I just find the whole thing interesting. I'm a fan.
I'm a fan too, man. I'm excited to go and see it. Every time we get to go and see the new, who's the kid on the block here? What is it? What are you doing?
Yeah. I mean, and spending time with them as well. I do love it. It's humbling, and it's always a pleasure. I love again, just going back to the originality thing. If someone's worth their salt, what I mean. A lot of the pioneers are actually more broad thinking than beatboxing itself, and it always blows my mind having a conversation. You know what I mean? You learn so much from you learn what you would expect to learn from the real pioneers. It's amazing.
Yes, there's been multiple conversations I've had with certain heroes of myself that have like, yes, they definitely have ideas where I'm like, these people, me, like, how did you and you have ideas for what you would like to see in battles, and you have ideas for what you'd like to see come out next and what the next step is, like, and you, as I said, you called how much the technology would be involved with stuff next before it was even thought, before the internet was even really out there. You called that, and I'm like, yeah, forethought. Go and do that.
Thank you, my brother. Yeah, no, it's one of them things, isn't it? You can't control that. I try controlling, it doesn't work. I don't think I was ready to stop beatboxing at the age 25, 26. There was definitely a season where I was at the top of my game, and couldn't be touched for that reason, because I really, really, really like honed in, and I had it, and you don't want to let that go, and sometimes that can be quite hard. But when you know that it's going to safe hands, and like you say, the thing that you've done up till now has served right because it's being passed on in a real positive thing, egos aside, it's just nice now that I can kind of step away and look at these guys doing such amazing stuff without feeling self-entitled or like any. I don't feel anything. I just don't feel anything. I just enjoy watching it now,
Sit back and enjoy fruits of your labor there.
I guess so. I don't know. Again, there's no ego to it, I don't feel like I don't particularly feel like I'm a part of the beatbox culture. I don't actually feel like I'm a part of that. And I'm at peace with that as well. Like,
if I'm interject, if there wasn't guys like, for UK specifically, because this is something else I was going to ask you when I've talked to French beatboxers, the reason their community is so tight, and you see so many amazing French beatboxers, from what I've heard, is there was a guy like Mike Spawn, Firebraz, Eclipse. There were people that were going to go and steer it in the right direction. LOS. I can keep going down the list and line, but that's why they have this, is because that mutual respect in the community, where as soon as it is you jump in, everyone's like, oh, okay, let's train, let's show, hey, where's share ideas, and they make it a family vibe. Now in the UK, you have a long, again, huge list of just Beatbox Collective being world champs and everybody involved with that. You know, Reaps, you have Ballsy, you have Hobbs, you have yourself, Beardy Man. You can keep on going down the list. I'm not, you can't name everybody, but like, and having someone like Tight to go and run Human Beatbox and push that again, and it's just crazy for me to go and think about, why do you think it is that the UK has such an interesting take on beatboxing, forethought for it, and also why is there successful beatboxers that continuously come out of the UK? D-Lo being the newest one, and Frosty. You know?
I think you got a little bit further out than just beatboxing for that one, because I feel like UK is a great exportee. Is that the right word? They will. Let's go back to like grassroots blues. You know what I mean? Like Muddy Waters. You know, like we're talking about the grit that Rolling Stones took and almost repackaged it in a certain way. Just thought about. I don't know. It's just that's the UK way. That's the British way. So when punk came along, the same thing happened. You know, Iggy Pop came over, played the Scala. Everyone lost their shit. Guess who's in the crowd? Johnny Rotten. Repackaged, thrown back at America again. There's been a lot of diverse changes. I think anomalies such as drum and bass and grime, which are similarly to punk, extremely British, that it doesn't always translate. But one thing that the Brits are really good at doing is repackaging stuff. It's almost like the UK is a testing bed for things. It's where you research and do your homework, but the marketplace is America. And I think with the use of technology, the rest of the world is America now, and everyone can indulge. But UK's always had this thing of just trying to be that dot the I's and cross the T's on the things that are essentially ideas, and then re-export it to the world as something, you know, with a different kind of USP.
100%. And you're, but that's what I mean though. Without someone like you in the scene to go inspire, because talking to people like Beatbox, talking to people, every guy that came after you knows you, and they might have seen you on BBC. They might have seen you in, you know, a commercial somewhere. They might have seen you play, or they heard of this thing and have these tapes. And having a guy like Hobbs show you that he has the tape when you were, you know, found that tape, you know? So like without that, and now without having someone like the Eclipse or France, without having people to go and lead the scene and be the Rahzels, essentially, be the Dougie Freshes, to go and push that ideal and share this knowledge, the scene isn't going to go to where it is currently. So I just thought it was still super interesting to see how close knit certain scenes are, and also just the impact that certain people have had on pushing it forward. Because now you have someone like, you know, D-Lo, right up there, just won GBV for the and smashed it, you know. Frosty just won. He just won, what was it? It was I think it was Grand Beatbox Battle online, World League Online edition for Loop Station. So he just took that down, you know. So like, it's continuously being pushed upon and improved on, and I love to see that guys from UK. I love seeing people succeed. Doesn't matter where they're from. But it's interesting for me to go and see a scene that is like the UK that just had, well, your first championships was 2005, and I believe that's when Faith won it the first time, then Beardy Man won it, and kept moving forward. So how is it for you also to go and see that scene when it first started, and you came out to start judging it, but you see, like, you hear whispers of other guys that are doing it, you know, you hear whispers or whatever, and then eventually you go and walk into the scene and you see a room full of people that, you know, you definitely had a hand in playing, push that idea forward and giving them something to look at as like, oh, wait a second, I can try that too, you know?
Yeah, you know what? I've never been asked that. And now as you were saying it, I kind of went back in my head of what it was like. But when you're, well, the place that I was at the time, I was 6 months ahead. I was already 6 months ahead in my head of where I wanted to be and where I was going and what I was heading to. And that aftermath, the impact that these things made, to me, I was on that 6 month trip of just trying to make something different, because everything that was going on, I wasn't entirely surprised because America had already done it. You know, we're talking about decades of hip hop culture where, well, by default, you're going to have a beatbox battle. Because if there's a demand and I'm getting paid XYZ as an individual, then there's money in the thing. And hey, look, if you can show people the diversities of beatboxing under one roof and people are going to pay to come in and watch it, then hell yeah. That's what they used to do at the Rocksteady jams back in the 80s with, do you know what I mean? So this all mirrored each other. And yeah, I wasn't surprised at all that was bound to happen. I kind of wish that I had invented it, but at the time I was like, yeah, come on. But at the time I was just a bit more appreciative that, like I'd rock into those places sometimes and it would be, like, it was insane. It was crazy. And I just, imposter syndrome a lot of times. I was just like, like, I'm Lee, you know what I mean? Like this thing, I can't believe it's coming so far. And you guys are just, you're giving me such props. It's still humbling now. So it's cool. Yeah, I don't think I'm too deep about it now, because it just seems to happen all the time, right? All this shit is happening all the time. Yeah. I can't keep up with half the battles at all.
But then even meeting a guy like Faith SFX, you know, that's one that he took your song and remixed it, and you had worked with him with some other stuff too, and like to have that connection, was it due to you seeing him at the champs, or due to him making his own splash in the scene for beatboxing that you were
his
like,
own splash?
And then you start working together, and to have a peer like that, to have a peer like him or Eclipse and stuff, but specifically Faith, I just wanted to ask about, how was it for you to go and be like, all right, this guy, my fellow Brit's got some talent here. We're gonna work together and make something and get the opportunity to create and work with somebody that's a peer, you know?
Yeah. Actually, that's a really good point. I might be contradicting what I just said, because when I did see Faith, I ultimately thought, he's fucking great. He has all the hallmarks of our generation, but he's doing grime. He's in the grime scene doing it. And I just felt like you've got to embrace these new artists and come kind of forge an alliance that allows for other people to pick up the rhythm as well and join the fun. So yeah, he was doing something with him was awesome. Definitely unsung as a peer, as an awesome beatboxer. He's, I don't know why he doesn't get the kudos he deserves, because he really was and is awesome, you know. So yeah, it was great working with him doing a remix like that, because he was. I thought it was quirky. I was like, yeah, that's crazy. Like, let's just have a beatboxer do a beatbox remix. That'd be fun. And it was great.
Yeah, man, that's one person I've yet to meet in my life, and I would love to, because to hear what he's doing now as Jesse Elvis and seeing the stuff that he's been putting out for just amazing voice and taking it his own way, working as well as you have with working with Plan B and doing stuff with them and touring and stuff. It's just, I don't know, it's crazy, man, just to see that. And that's one guy I do want to meet, though. So if you're ever watching this, congratulations, respects to you, and everybody should recognize how much Faith influenced a lot of your favorite beatboxers, just like Killa has influenced a lot of your favorite beatboxers.
Oh, thank you, bro. Like, who was it I was talking to? I'm not sure if it's Darnie. Big up Darnie as well, by the way.
Oh, Darnie's the man.
I can't remember. I think it was Danny. I can't remember. Maybe it wasn't. Korean Effects. Maybe. Anyway, Faith was really influential to a lot of the second wave generation from us. So the Darnies and the Beardies, he was a big one and unsung as well. But he's Jesse Elvis thing's dope as well. Yeah, man.
Yeah, he's doing his thing. And you continue on though, and like you get the opportunity to go and with under Vadim, DJ Vadim, you go and put out a few different things, as you said, and then you get to go on tour with them and play with the, what was it, Russian percussion tour or something like this, where you go to the US and then you start doing stuff with Mr. Thing and you get this tour. Now, something that I wish more beatboxers would get the opportunity or build themselves up to get the opportunity to do is that idea of being like, all right, we're going to go and do an actual tour. Because how was it for you jumping on that first tour with Mr. Thing and doing that, as you said, a crazy 100 plus show run of shows where it's like, okay, 6, so you did it good for the first 10, first 3, whatever. Then, but it happens again the next night, and it happens again the next night, and to find that longevity. So can you kind of give some insight as to fresh artists that are getting the opportunity to tour and things they should look out for, in your opinion?
What look out for in once you're in the mix, the telltale signs of certain I don't know, meters when you hit a benchmark? You talking about that sort of thing?
No, I mean, well, somewhat, but I mean like tips and tricks on how to go and have that sustainability to go and be able to continue up with the tour. So if someone says you're doing a run of 30 shows, here are the dates, here are the places. What are things that you advise someone that's fresh to touring to either maybe stay away from or encourage them to do whilst on tour? That's something that I find a lot of people don't get the opportunity to tour, and when they do it, I've seen a few people make everyone makes mistakes, but there's stuff you can avoid, you know?
Yeah. Boy. I say just give everything a go, man. Live once.
All right. Well, you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
Yeah, like what you know, if it's yeah, boy. Yeah, just give it all a go. Throw it up the pole and Sue salutes it. I do feel like you've got to make it. The back end is really important. Make sure you got yourself a good agent. Make sure you got yourself a good tour manager that can take the heat. You know, big up my boy Mikey each and every time. Sound engineer as well. Make sure it's got a good sound engineer. And yeah, just go for it. Toilet tours suck. Yeah, 1 in 3 shows you're gonna be playing to like a quarter full, maybe no one. You probably play to the bar staff, but remember that this is just a journey. Like, don't be that person that's, oh, I deserve more people coming. It's like, no, man. You can be as old in the game as you want to do it, but if you're doing it because you want to be, then show up and do it and shut up.
Yes.
You know,
yes.
Enjoy it, because the next day you might have like 600 people to 1,000 people, and there's no other way to go about it. Like when you're doing tours like that, you'll have, here for an example, you'll have the whole weekend booked, but you need to be sleeping somewhere on Thursday, so you'll go and do that dodgy gig for a hotel so that you're able to sleep for the weekend that you're going to be doing the shows at. You know what I mean? There's these little kind of anchor shows that allow, and then there's the payers, the big payer shows where Saturday is always live. Oh, we're going to be playing at Fabric, London. Okay, there's no money in it, you know, but at least I play Fabric. That'd be awesome. And then the next day you go and play Plymouth at, in the west coast of England, and they're paying, they're covering all of those gigs over the weekend entirely. Do you know what I mean? So you just don't weigh it up on how many people are at the show. Weigh it up on who's really putting the money in. You know what I mean?
I agree with you, because it doesn't matter if you can bring that same energy. That's a very solid, like, if you can bring the same energy that whether you have, for you having like 83,000 people sitting in a crowd watching you live at Glastonbury, and then you go and do a show where, okay, so there's not that many people in the crowd, but still, if you can keep that same energy up, regardless, the people that do see you will appreciate that. Even the bar staff, they'll come up afterwards and be like, I was having a terrible day, and then you went and really tried. And they do appreciate that. And then the other thing too is, as you keep on touring, keep on doing shows, those same people you're going to see again, maybe in a couple months, they'll tell some of their friends, oh, you should see this guy who's coming in. He's amazing. Got to go and check out the show,
Yeah, exactly.
And the next time you come back, that little dodgy show that you're talking about all of a sudden is, well, now there's 20 people.
That's right. And it ain't about how many, it's who.
Yes.
It's who's in the room. That's
Absolutely.
all that matters, man. Like, there's the all important who. I think with beatboxers nowadays, there's an expectation outside of just how many people are in the room. I feel like the way beatboxing has gone, it's harder for people to establish themselves individually and have their own tours, because there's these kind of battle arenas, live and online and whatnot, that make it kind of hard for you to get out of that situation, because people are so used to seeing 100 beatboxers on stage for the value of their money and buying a ticket. Oh, we'll go to XYZ battle because it's a new battle, and that's what beatboxers do. They battle now. But then here's the other thing. I think beatboxers themselves play up to a crowd. Like, it's always a bass drop. There's always a bass drop now. Like the beatboxers preach musicality, but in a lot of ways they fall in line to what their crowd want. And I think those two things combined make it quite hard for people to go on a tour. Know what I'm saying?
Yes, doing longer than the battle round length, and having the thought process of being like to go and interact with the crowd. And that's why, remember when obviously you do, but I think it was when you were with I forget who it was basically the hype guy for you. But I think it was your time when you were Spit Kingdom, and you're sitting there. Yeah, MC Trip, yo. I loved those shows because he'd be like, "Now show us the bass kick. No. Speed it up. Hi-hat, speed it up, slow it down, reverse it, snare, do it this snare, pull the snare out of your pocket," and all these things. That was something that I loved watching, because I don't know, like, it's the pageantry of it, or like, you know, whatever you want to call it. But the way that you had the guy cutting you off, you're like, no, they ain't ready for that. And then you go put it all together. And then him being able to go and be that secondary voice that they hear, being the MC, you know, master of ceremony, but able to go and do that and then build into you taking off and doing the thing. So proper, man. And that's again right on the top of that idea of continuously pushing the idea of what a show can be. Because you'd battle up with the drums. You'd go and have the back and forth with DJ. You'd go and have him rapping on top of it. You'd come in and perform tracks too, but that idea of a full-on engaged show with the breakdown of here's the beatbox, but back to it and showing the artistry of what you're creating with them.
That's
Always found that super awesome, man. Always found that awesome.
Thank you, bro. I mean, I also had a 4-piece string quartet once. I went on tour with them as part of that Spit Kingdom thing. Oh, dude,
Was that? Yeah, I guess it was. I thought that was when you were doing the Aculet or what? Elocution album. I thought that was, what was it called? You had the Ellison Quartet.
Yeah, Ellison Quartet. Yeah, that was the precursor to what became the Spit Kingdom sound system. And for those of you that will definitely not know this, there was this thing called the Spit Kingdom sound system, where we went all around the world, and the sound system kind of simulated the UK culture of you know, carnival sound systems and drum and bass orientated kind of formation. So there would be the MC that you're talking about, MC Trip, big up MC Trip. He's still around. And then Spider J, he's like a ragga patois singer, but also plays keyboards and drums. So there was the battle aspect to that. And then there was the DJ Skeletric, big up Skeletric, and Charlize Rookwood, who was the vocalist. And we just kind of merged, and again, heightened that idea of like multi-vocalism, but within a sound system. So we'd have like loads of sounds, and it would all be hinged on whatever record I was releasing at the time. So we did have the Elysian Quartet because some of the songs had had strings and stuff like that. Bro, I remember this time I don't know how much I had to drink, but I did kick the mic stand into the cello, and that's just like, right, for those of you who don't know, and I'm sure I'm speaking to the converted here, these things cost a lot of money. And they're old as shit. Like, this one was like 1700.
Oh god. And
I'm like, yeah, that's just gone through. It cost me, like, just to get the wood replaced was £800 alone. It was just like a shitstorm. That was the worst time. So yeah, and also you don't realize this is, again, it was a test bed. You don't realize, like, when we're dropping beatbox bass lines, like proper lip rolls and things like that before they were called lip rolls, to a string quartet, they're like, we can't hear ourselves because that bass is just interfere. Do you know what I mean? So we'd have these like really long discussions of how we were going to make the string quartet work with the beatbox, which is unthinkable now when you kind of put it in context of 2020. But again, at the time, it's not like we were inventing the wheel, but we were totally trying to figure shit out as we went along,
Absolutely. Have you ever thought about taking it? Because I've seen in more recent years where they have Red Bull Sound Clash, and they've had that in different places. They did in Toronto. Terry actually did it with who was he with? I guess I want to say Cardinal Official, but anyways,
Cardi.
Mr. Cardinal.
Oh my god,
so sick. One of Toronto's best exports of all time, ladies and gentlemen.
He did that tune with the Neptune, Snake Charmer.
Yes, I believe that was him. But he also, I'm just a fan. I don't know. The old stuff of him is just
OG. He's an OG, man.
It's amazing. But have you ever thought about, I'm not sure if that's something that went by the wayside, but I would love to go and see the opportunity for Spit Kingdom to go up against some other sound. Did you ever have any times to go and clash with somebody, or is that ever a thought that you were thinking of? Because now, again, Red Bull are doing these things where they're bringing in big name artists, mashing them up with a few different people, and setting them against each other back and forth. But I'd love to go and see that actually happen with Spit Kingdom going back and forth with somebody,
Oh, mate, I'd love that. We didn't clash. I'd be so sick to do that. But at its time when we were going places with it, once we'd done the album, people were still asking for it, and we were getting like hit up by like drum and bass venues and events, and it was so dope because we were able to integrate the whole thing across genres. So where it was just a beatbox thing with the albums, all of a sudden it had its own steam and its own thing, and that was really cool as well. We ended up doing a club night at that went on for 5 years every Tuesday for free in central London. We did that as Spit Kingdom just because we wanted to use it as a platform to showcase all of us, almost like test drive our stuff before we go and did the gigs at the weekend. So it was just a whole different. That was 2008, 2009. Do you know what I mean? So it was a crazy time. That was mad.
Yeah, you were talking about that in one of the interviews about that's your like most missed night for at the time. That was your most missed opportunity to go, not opportunity, but time just to go and have that fun on stage and try out new stuff and just to have people dancing away. So I don't know, man. I think that'd be cool when this is all over. When there's an opportunity for live shows, call it, see if those boys would be down to go and have a little something,
Well, I mean, Trip is he's an HBO scriptwriter. He writes scripts. James, my sound man at the time, he went on to be the lead singer and bass player of Does It Offend You? Yeah, which was like a big kind of band back in the day. But he then went and produced a lot of the Prodigy stuff, Dylan Francis, all this sort of stuff. Spider J, he recorded and worked with Stevie Wonder, which just blows my mind anyway. And Charlize lives in New York. She's like fiercely vegan and doing really well with herself. So all these guys, they're still around. DJ Skeletric, he lives in Malta now. It's weird. Time is a mad thing, isn't it? It's just it all kind of merges in a timeline in your head, but really, the world is weird. The whole life is a weird thing.
Things have been going on since those times. You went on a whole journey there where you won in Toronto, and I'm frustrated that I missed the one show. I sent you a message, and I missed the show that you had in Toronto. And I believe it was after you had won Best Duo Act when you were doing the Them and Us collaboration there for a little bit. And you won the Best International Act for the Toronto Independent Music Awards. And I remember you were doing a show, and I think you were doing it somewhere in Kensington Market, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. And I was frustrated because I was like, damn, I couldn't figure out what it was. Or there's something that happened that I couldn't go, and I wanted to surprise you and just show up and be like, you in Toronto.
Yeah, that would have killed me. Honestly, oh bro, it would have been great to have seen you. That Them and Us project was that one was like a real like, all right, look, I've done the beatbox. It was weird because I was going through some depression at that time as well. I was going through a lot of shit, and it was a duo that was with my then girlfriend. But I guess in hindsight, working with your girlfriend is always a bad idea. Yes. And and that's reciprocated. Do you know what I mean? Boyfriend to girlfriend, and she will back me up on this. I have no doubt if she's even caring to listen to this. We get on, by the way. There's no bad blood. But I definitely, we did 3 EPs, at least 2 albums worth of stuff. Really enjoyed doing nothing that was beatbox. It was good to just be behind the boards doing something that was completely out there and different. garnered a different kind of audience, and a real kind of forward push on like how far things I'd learned outside of beatboxing, whether I could apply it into something else and work as collaboratively with someone else as I could. And we trusted each other within the music. And James, my as I mentioned, the guy that was my sound man, he helped produce all of this stuff with us, and it was great. But yeah, I was just spiraling into like some mad depression, because you don't realize then, because Skeletric, he was my then manager. 2011, we stopped working with each other. I say he's my manager. We were more of a collaborative. It was more of a partnership. We literally did everything together. He would never confess to be a manager. We did all of this thing fiercely independently, and we did it as a collaboration thing together. But when we broke up and it stopped, and all the mess that came after that in my head, and it was almost like that project was just almost like the unraveling of me in my head. And I was drinking way too much. I was doing too much complacency. It was just stupid. And that ultimately was what broke up my relationship with my girlfriend at that time, because I had an epiphany getting out of my depression. I was like, yeah, hold on a minute. I shouldn't be doing this project. I need to be finding my beatboxing again, because it's been 5 years and hey, the beatbox scene had moved on hard. And I was like, yeah, you know what? I'm going to, no one else can do Killa Kela. I like to think so anyway. So I'm going to get back on the horse. And I started doing the ID drops. I started doing the beatbox sample packs. I started doing the podcast, and now it's this thing, but at the time that project, I have fondness of it, but I also know what was underlining with it. Do you know what I mean?
But that's also a thing that you see. Obviously, retrospect is sometimes it's that 2020 thing, and I don't mean that year wise, but I mean vision wise of saying, okay, you see it afterwards and you're like, oh, why didn't I see it before? But in moments of things, it's very hard to see through those times. But to go and come out of that and moving forward, now from when you started doing, as you said, do the sound pack for Splice, and then you've been putting out new music too. Most recently was Fortified with Patuan. And again, so you're still putting out music and putting out some dope stuff, and that track right there, whoever he's a new artist, I guess. I've never heard of him until I saw him with you, but like for me, I guess I'm in Canada too. I haven't seen it, but like I heard him, I was like, whoa, man's got that
nasty,
that vibe
right?
to him, to him, man. And I want to know, where are you? What is, like, right now, because of the thing you're focusing on the podcast and you're focusing on artistry as yourself, but where do you see yourself going to be taking this music adventure? Are you going to go back and try to make another album? Is there going to be more stuff that you like to do, or is there something that you're like, what have you not done, essentially? Because you've had stuff coming, you've been in commercials, you've been in video, your songs are put in video games from FIFA 2, and like Need for Speed, Hot Pursuit and stuff, and you have this availability to go, and you've done so much. You've done so much. Is there anything that you're thinking, like, I want to go and get into that when stuff possibly comes back to some version of normality? Like, is there anything that you're like itching and you're like, I haven't tried that yet, or I want to go and see if I can go and do this? What is in your mind right now that you'd like to go and pursue if you're given the opportunity, or if you made the opportunity for yourself?
Yeah. I think, I'm on the 200th episode of the podcast, and that's been really cool. I think for people that, when it comes to like creating music and doing the things, it's the 10,000 hours have already been created. I've already had those experiences, so it's almost like repackaging those experiences or reformatting them into a 2020 version. And I believe that the podcast for me and the television network as a whole is like the most creative I've been, because I not only do I make the music, but I also use that as the soundtrack for the intro and outro of the podcast or any episodes of within television. I'm presenting it. I'm mixing and engineering my own voice. I'm doing the artwork, illustrations, putting it up, doing the content, you know, and working with some amazing people as well, collaboratively, live and or otherwise. You know, big up Nat King, big up Ashley, big shout out to Guam, big shout out to Elena. I know I'm going to miss some other people out, but you know, some of the most, Lisa, big shout out to everybody, Connie Concept, SJ, all these people that I work with, Mr. Normski as well, that allow me to be real diverse with the things that I've learned in the past, and then recreate and make greater, you know, products and pieces. And I think that's really what it's all about. If you're enjoying it and it's making sense to you, and it has all the hallmarks of the things that you may have done before, but you want to do it better, particularly with being creative, find that platform and make it happen. I think in the future, though, I'd like to take the television live show on the road. If everything's been built up to this point with the podcast and television and stuff, I want to take it on the road. And we've got a new app. We've got the television app coming out next month, which, you know, it houses every single article from the body parts to, you know, notifications of when a podcast is live, right way through to the television live stream and everything. It's going to be a one-stop. So that I'm keen for, because then, you know what I mean, it really gets closer to the goal of, like, you know what I mean, being self-sufficient and utilizing all those things that you know, worked for and had inklings of it would be in the right way to do, but you never got it right the first time. Stuff like that.
I remember the original television in episodes like 1 and 2, and it shows you, you know, when you did that thing where you're outside, I think it was O2 Arena, and you're sitting there getting ready, and you got that opportunity to work with Prince, and you get these, I don't know, those things were so cool. It was like you had the video too. I think it was the number 3 when you came to the World Champs in 2009 at the B2 Club in Berlin.
Yeah.
That little part too in the cutouts, and I see like the USA game, Maximilian. I'm like, whoa, you got this behind the scenes, and you got Baktang and Reeps doing something real quick. But that was always cool for me watching that before when it came out, and now again, it's such a cool thing. I would love to see some revamped version of that where you'd have, you know, in between podcasts, maybe, just as a fan of just asking.
Yeah.
Like, that's something I would love to see, because the way you cut it up, you'd have your intro, you know, you're going in the wheelchair thing, and then you just pop out and stuff, man. But is that something that you would be considering as a possibility too, of making that little, I'm not sure exactly what you would call that, but it was just like your life through your eyes, and giving them backstage and experiences of meeting people, talking to people. Here's just about to do this show. Here's I just did this. Here I'm about to go and do this commercial. Hey, I'm about to go and, you know.
Yeah. I think that there is an opportunity for that. Once we go on road, then that would certainly be. I mean, now that you come to mention it, that was a real fun time, because every time you had someone on there, that was a cosign to where you were and who you were doing it with, and that was always a good thing. With the television and the podcast, especially now, every time a guest comes on, that's a cosign. And there is loads of backstage behind the stuff that's going on. So I reckon when we do the live show again, when we do the television live show again, 100%, I think that's totally the way to go. And all the mischief that goes on, you know, I love that. I love it.
Yeah. Oh man, I was laughing. I had paused it a few times just from stuff. I'm like, oh man, I remember watching this. Like, I remember watching every episode, you know, and just going through. It was killer. And,
I look back on it now, and it's fun, because I look on it with a little bit tinted specks of nostalgia, and it's always cozy when you look at it. But I do remember the times in which I was doing it, how stressed I was. It was like a very stressful, do you know what I mean? Like trying to get into the backstage to go and perform with Prince, waiting for 5 hours, trying to wait, and, you know, maybe I'll get in, maybe I won't, and then all of a sudden you get the call, oh yeah, be around the back of this thing and do it. And it's like, you know, these aren't like walks in the park.
No, it's not until you saw the rose petals hit the floor before you're like, he's actually gonna be here.
Yeah. Like, oh shit. But, you know, I mean, it's stressful. But then when you feel like you've done it and you've accomplished the thing that you want, you'd listen, man. You just going back to Rahzel as well. You know, when I first got on the stage with this geezer, or at least was on the same bill. You know, it was just, for me, I was just so taken aback by the thing, because you're in company. And I think this is what, and I'm sure everybody watching this will be exactly the same, whether they're standing alongside Napalm, you know, or standing alongside Reeps or anyone. Like, you're up against greatness, and you're there for a purpose. And sometimes you just got to you've got to think to yourself, you've got to take a breath and just say, look, I think I've kind of just achieved one of my goals here. Because if you aren't appreciative of that, then, or at least you aren't taking it in, you know, we're all so preoccupied with this shit, you know, but you have to you have to remind yourself that you know, this is an opportunity not a lot of people get, and that's just take it all in, observe, and just enjoy it. Enjoy that ride, man. It's so good.
And again, you've had, excuse me, you've had some ridiculous like opportunities that you've created for yourself, and been able to go and do shows with the crazy list of artists, from, again, Prince being right up there, and then working with Justin Timberlake, DMX, doing that thing with Snoop Dogg on MTV when you had that, working with Sammy Deluxe on MTV. And that's one thing before I go on, and Pharrell, obviously I've seen videos of that. Now that was so cool to just see that, you know, you ended up kind of buddying up and to be like, oh yeah, we're here. If you want to come do this thing, come on over. And then you started doing it. But how was it for you to go and have that full circle thing of being that 13-year-old kid watching taped versions of MTV to end up being on MTV and winning an MTV? I think you won an MTV award of some sort too, if I was not mistaken. If I saw, there's a picture where you have a silver award and you got silver glasses on.
Yeah, no, that was just me just grabbing the thing and
grabbing the award.
I've won a couple of awards, but again, you know, that's not MTV. If I was to, I think I know where you're coming from. If you were to, if I was to sit there and look at the 11-year-old me, yes, looking at this and being like, yeah, but again, that's why I'm emphasizing to people to just like breathe deeply when they're in those situations. I'm 42 years old, and the 42-year-old me now, he walks different, and he thinks different, and he takes a lot more things, appreciates a lot more things, and there's a weird kind of ego that's involved in when you're pushing for those levels, and you're pushing. The audacity sometimes of like, how dare you even think that you could be on MTV and do this thing? You know, you test those limits as a person. You push yourself to those limits, and but once it's done, it's done. You know, once it's done, it's done. And what happens afterwards, you don't know. If at best all the bells and whistles and glitters and however many color M&Ms you want in a bowl can happen, but you know, and
or just red round trees for yourself.
Yeah, red round. Yeah, there you go. Go on, Hobbit. Yeah, but that's the one. You know, all these things, they're lily pad leaps, and you get from one bit to another, stage by stage, and things. You just play to your strengths, play to the rhythm of it, and just try not to forget shit. You know, just remember stuff. And also, other really important thing is have other people with you who will remember it if you don't. That's another awesome thing. You know, that's why I tell everyone to record shit at the shows, even now, because these are times where, you know, you're sitting on the porch when you're older, you know, listen, you are talking to an old head here, and I do believe that it was, you know, it can be wasted on the youth, you know, so just take every opportunity to enjoy when you're having those successes, because things change, as we can tell right now, you know, shit changes.
100%. It's inevitable. Time moves on with or without one. And excuse me, I don't know what I'm doing here, but time moves on, and you have to go really relish the opportunities that you have, and advice given to you, and people that you get to go and share time with, because you never know when that's going to happen again. And for you, again, one thing I was going to ask, because this is for around the world, this person's known, but like, how is it going and being in the House of Commons, first of all, and doing a show? And then also, what was it like to go and be like, oh yeah, so Dan, I'm gonna go and perform, and the Queen's gonna be in the audience. So how do you feel about your grandson doing this weird sound thing here, but he's going to go perform for the Queen here? So how was that experience for you?
I can give you some backstage intel on that one, to be fair, because the night before we were going to go to the It was called the Royal Variety. It's called the Royal Variety Performance, and it's a show for the Queen and the royal family, and everybody and their dog goes there. I had the album out, but I also had the Roundtree's Fruit Pastel thing pop in, yeah. And just out of the blue, their officials said, we need a beatboxer while these skateboarders and BMXers do their thing. I was like, yeah, do it, cool. I mean, I'm not a royalist. I'm not into any of that stuff really. Sorry, Auntie, but I'm not. Yeah, the night before I had this Red Bull show, and they had the facilities backstage were insane. It started really early. We were on really early. We were like, oh shit, there's going to be no one in the venue, but it's okay because next day we've got to go to Wales anyway to go to this Royal Variety Performance. We're playing to the Queen, so make sure you're ready. Okay, cool. So let's get the show done and go. We did the show and it was rammed. It was packed. And I don't know why it was so packed, but it was awesome. And you know, when you've had a good gig, you're just like, whoa. Backstage, they had a fully functioning, dude, I'm right there. You know, all the kids are in the pool. It's awesome, you know. And they had a fully stocked bar backstage and they were serving up Red Bull vodka, Red Bull, and there's different flavors. There's different flavor that.
So you got to try that one as well.
Got to try that one.
Kiwi.
Try this one. Yeah, kiwi. Before you know it, bro, it's 2:30 in the morning, right? And Duncan, DJ Skeletric, he was like, "Yo, look, we can't even go to the hotel now. We're gonna have to drive from here to Wales now because we won't get up in the morning otherwise. And when you've got to be a rehearsal for something, I'm like, all right, cool. I'm like, all right, cool. But I'm on wave brigade. I'm gone. So I jump in the back of the car. I end up sleeping in the trunk. Yeah, because I'm absolutely fish-faced. I get there and all of Sony BMG are there. They're all like giving it the, are you okay? You're going to be okay. And I'm like, oh, no, man, I feel like really bad. I feel like really bad. I feel like death. But we go and do the rehearsal. And I saw the rehearsal. I was like, okay, look, yeah, okay. I'll just do the beat. It's fine. So I get there. I sleep all the day. I wake up and I don't even get a sound check. But they're really on it. You know what I mean? I had my boy James there, so it was all good. And I had Skeletric there, so there's the three of us. And we have the dressing room next to Ozzy Osbourne. Right, and I'm like, wicked, but and I didn't know this, right? But his guitarist for the performance was Slash, right? So, like, I'm already like losing my bits, but I didn't know that at the time. Okay, my soundman James walks out to go to the front of the house where the mixing desk is, and I go the other way to go on the stage, ready to go, and he's walking along and he sees Slash, right? And he turned, they don't tell me till the end. And I'm like, how come I didn't go your way? You know what I mean? And I was gutted. It was like one of the, but it's my own fault because I got absolutely pasted and the performance went really well, but I just don't remember any of it. I remember meeting Sharon Osbourne and that was it. I didn't even see the Queen. I was just too done. I was too busted.
you said though in a later thing that it's almost slightly a good thing that you didn't have that anxiety maybe attached to that show that there'd be it's a high class and all these people because you were up there just being like, oh man, I'm just gonna do the beat, whatever.
Yeah, for real. You don't. Can you? I mean, never mind the Queen to meet Slash. I'm kind of glad I didn't meet Slash that time. Do you know what I mean? Because I've just been like a gargling mess of just the fanboy in me would be just up to 1,000, and and there's still a window of chance that I could still be friends with him in the future. I'm not going to remove that opportunity by being.
Yeah, just gotta keep the positives. Gotta keep the positives rolling.
I remember I remember meeting Dave Grohl, and I said to him, and I was absolutely wasted. Actually making it sound like I'm always wasted. I'm not always wasted, guys. Right? But I was. No. Listen, it's rock and roll. This.
Yeah, come on.
Yeah, this is what we're doing here. We're not here. I said to him, I was like, "Oh, I'm a beatboxer. We should drum battle." And he just looks at me and he shakes my hand. And he goes, "Okay, gotcha," and walks away. Okay, gotcha.
Gotcha.
It's too funny.
And just walk away from that conversation.
Right. That was at the MTV musical. What's that one?
That's a good story. Oh man. But again, you've done so much, dog. Like there's been so much that you did. And one other thing, I forget what interview we were talking in, but the small bits of advice you've been given by some of these, by stars, essentially, people that told you to go and do this one, that one, whatever. You said you had 50 Cent in a hotel room talking back and forth about some stuff, and he was telling you, it might have been him, you should be the next Fat Man Scoop on records. You could be the next one. You could be the next one doing this, and giving you some information on that. And you took that. And you're like, okay, remember to go and do that. And then I believe you said Pharrell was telling you more about keeping up the multi-vocalism and in the way that you integrate it in and out of the stuff and the showmanship of that. So can you go and just say maybe just some advice if you were talking to the next kid specifically on showmanship, because that's something that you've excelled in, and you've had advice along the way, but what would you tell for a new beatboxer that is starting to perform and have opportunities? What would you say for them for stage presence and also how you would carry oneself? Everyone's individual. I totally understand that, and they're going to find out their own ways to do it. But from somebody that's been through the ropes and performed for all these amazing different artists that have these opportunities, what would you say would be something stage-wise specifically you can tell them?
I think beatboxing as a instrument leans itself to so many different things, and there's going to be loads of opportunities that you have that if you're settled and serious in going the distance with, away from the beatbox community, away from the beatbox audience, and you're really looking to do your thing, you are going to be led with heavy criticism, because you really are you have to make that, you make it really stand out. You got to really stand out. And sorry, I'm on a tangent, but I'm getting somewhere. Trust me.
Go for it.
Yeah, because I think with the beatboxing, once you are out of the circle of that, you are exposed to all different types of genres, all different types of music. And I think what's really important is having your own identity, and measuring up to any genre in any club, in any. You might just be you might be in a situation where you're butted between two DJs and you go on and do your thing. You've just got to be able to hold your ground as your own entity, whether it's a drum and bass DJ set or whether it's a live event. Just be able to own your space, stand confidently, and make the most of that space. You know what I mean? Don't bow. There was never a moment where I leant hard on my drum and bass routines because I was in a drum and bass crowd. They don't want that. They want you to do you. So just really work hard on holding your ground and just being that, the beatbox audience will always be there. If you ain't done nothing wrong, then you ain't got nothing to worry about. Just just do you and amplify it. And remember also, people, whatever you think is unique about yourself, particularly physically. I know it sounds really shallow, but even by the things you wear, turn that up as well. Turn that right up, because people can say what they fucking want about my hats and my shades, but you know what Killa Kela looks like. Do you know what I'm saying?
That's true, and not all of them have won the Renegade of Style Awards, so they can.
Hey, hold tight. But you know who's someone that does rep really well? Thomas Ackery. I think when he first came on in the Grand Battle, big up Swissbeatbox every time.
Yes, sir.
Because when he came on, right, he changed something. It was his whole posture. It was the dreads. It was he could be a front in a thrash band, but he's doing all that shit with his mouth. He's a rock star.
Yeah, actually, I had him on here for one of them, and I found out that he actually used to sing in one of those hardcore metal bands. And that like I can't do it, but he had that style of singing, and he was always, one of the things that he always said throughout the thing and throughout our talk was that that's a character, you know. There's Thomas and there's Thomas Zachary. And when you go on stage, as you said, it's turned on and he's like and does his stuff. And it's interesting to have that like separation between the two, artistry and oneself, and be able to go and turn it off for a second and maybe just enjoy, you know, sitting down for a coffee or tea and just talking to somebody about something that has nothing to do with about yourself, you know?
Yeah.
Going on stage and just getting into it.
Yeah, I think so. I will say though, Thomas, and this is a mild criticism, because I just feel like something happened. I think he could have, even now. I mean, I wouldn't have cut my dreads. I would have left them, and I would have stuck to the kind of emo direction that it kind of lent itself to, because I do believe that, all right, the beatbox scene completely embraced him. But I also think it kind of stifled him in a way, because I think he could have actually been, and still could be, like a really big tour de force. It could, do you know what I'm saying? At the moment,
I could see him at the front of something, and he's putting out music too. He's been doing a lot of. He just put out the Crystals EP, I believe it was called. He just put that out, and he's been putting out music, and he's still pursuing it. But I understand what you're saying. I think that the first impression for me when I introduced him on stage and saw him, I was like, whoa, who is this? So it's just such an interesting thing. And as you said, amplify what people look at and see, because that is you, you know?
Super important. I think that the step that he would really, and this is only talking to him, I speak to him on the phone sometimes. I think the step he kind of needs to make is a real kind of geographical decision. You know what I mean? Like, you hear these stories of, you know, from aged old rock and roll stories of jumping in the back of a car without any money and all your belongings in the trunk, and you're driving to the Sunset Strip and you're going to be superstars. That's what people have to do to make it. And I know that's obviously not possible right now. But I'm saying that when it does go live again, I do believe he's got all the credentials to take it to the mountain. Reaps is another good one as well for fashion forward, conscious matrix, you know, outfits. Yes. I think he's definitely got his thing going on. That's for sure. Amplified again the fact that he's taken the beatboxing into a different route. I think that's fucking amazing. He's like, and I've said it to him so many times. It's like he's that guy that is. I just feel like I'm proud of him. I'm just fucking proud of the geezer.
Yeah, man, I fully concur on that one. He's someone that's inspiring and also forward thinking, to the point of, oh, so I'm gonna go and create a program where this AI is gonna go back and learn what I'm doing, and then live stream or live at the exact same time battle me, and I'm gonna battle myself, and it's gonna be a computer. And also, you know, all these things are thought up while I was at Harvard. like, go ahead, man. Sure. Sure, that's possible. I don't know. Sure. Oh, you're gonna create statues out of sound waves, and that's gonna be live streamed, but into a statue thing. But it's your program for that makes total sense.
yeah, totally. Like, where did you get that? Where's that? Tell me more. Yeah, go out there.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, forward thinkers, man.
Forward four-wheel drive forward thinkers. So yeah. Crazy.
Yes. Oh man. Honestly, I could just sit here and talk to you forever, because there's so much to go and ask you and so much more. But I want to go and get into this thing during the show. I want to go and get into this thing called rapid fire. So we're gonna have rapid fire questions. Get real aggressive right off the bat out of nowhere. Yeah. Rapid fire. So basically, I'm gonna ask you a few questions, and I want you just to go and answer as quickly as possible and not think about them too much. All right?
Cheeky sod. Go on.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, right here, Beyond the Beats with Killa Kela, we're about to go and do rapid fire. First and foremost,
let's have it.
Who is your current favorite solo beatboxer?
D-Lo.
Current favorite tag team?
Mad Twins.
Current favorite loop station artist?
I just done a podcast with Beardy, man. His shit's crazy. I'll go with Beardy again.
Current favorite team, crew?
Beatbox Collective, come on. Classic.
What is your favorite heavy metal band?
What isn't? My favorite heavy metal band. Yeah, I guess Guns N' Roses.
Favorite graffiti artist?
Favorite graffiti artist. Oh, jeez. Favorite graffiti artist, without question, is. I'm gonna get in trouble with this, right? I get in trouble. Maybe. Oh man. Anyone from DDS, to be honest. But actually, no, that's not true. I can't. Yeah, all the DDS, all the graffiti. I love them all.
Ooh, the pressure. Favorite current DJ?
Favorite current DJ? Revert, DJ Revert.
Favorite current breakdancer?
Pass. I don't know. I don't follow it enough.
Fair enough. Top place to go and buy hats?
I'm getting given. I don't know. There isn't one.
True. What type of coffee would you order when you were at Minky's?
Oh, you would go on here. Regular Americano filter.
Ladies and gentlemen, right there with my boy Killa Kela.
You're killing me with these ones. Ooh.
Some pressure on you right there.
Man, those are the classic. What's your favorite graffiti artist? I mean, like that changes like the week.
That's why I said current.
Yeah. In retrospect, I think I'd say Force. I would say Force in retrospect. 4CE. He's a big boy in the graffiti thing at the moment over here. Yeah, I'd go with Force.
All right. So we're changing up the answer right there for Now we have a few questions from
my friend Papuni.
My friend Papuni
wants to know these things about you. So
my friend Papuni.
First of all, wants to go and ask you, how many times have you beatboxed on stage?
Countless. Countless. I can't. Maybe. Dude. If I hazarding, I guess 2,000 plus times. No, that's a lie. But 1,800.
Really? I would think I would have thought it would be more because you did that tour to start off with 100 and something that's bang, and then I think you said you did a tour where you did like 200 or 2000 and 2008 or something like that. Was you did 235 gigs in 1 year?
Yeah. Okay, yeah. So
I mean,
yeah, but then when you look at the real realities of it, I would say 1,800 would probably be a modest one. You know?
Okay.
If you really dial it in a bit, 2,000. Yeah. You know what I mean? I'd be it'd just be too much if I said 5,000, you know, just for the sake of it.
That's a million.
A million. Come at me, dog.
Shows, yo, you've been doing these shows, no?
Yeah. And I ain't that guy. I think 2,000.
Okay.
My friend Papuni
would also like to know.
My friend Papuni.
In general, he wants to know, what is he saying? Oh, there you go. What is the difference in between a pro beatboxer and a beatbox artist?
Well, there's a difference now because that's been that line has been created. I think a beatbox artist doesn't go and do beatbox battles.
All right. That's a good answer.
They don't battle. They better. That's what that's.
I see what you're saying.
That's the theory. Because there's trust me, there's way more battles when trying to make a record than there is doing just the 6 minutes on a stage. It's a whole different thing.
All right, my friend
Papuni
has another couple questions for you.
Cool.
He says,
my friend Papuni
would like to know, now that you see that the beatbox scene is huge, especially SBX, is there anything in particular that you wish to see in the beatbox scene specifically, like a certain direction for it to head?
I just want more music. I want people to. I want more people to make music. Like, if you're really going to excel in getting to a wider audience, put it down on record. You're not going to do it any other way. Like, that and also I think the other thing as well, which is nothing to do with the events themselves, Swissbeatbox or anything. I think it's a generational thing. like I make conscious efforts to try and go to these things, you know, and I think beatboxers of generations need to make that connection. It was great to see Dougie Fresh on a talk not so long ago. That was fucking awesome, you know. And I think it's super important. Like, if you don't know the history, then how are you going to move forward? And I think it's super important that other elder people, my generation and older, make that connection. Papone's a nice guy. He's fucking awesome, and he knows his shit, as you can tell by these questions, the caliber of guests that he has on. You know what I mean? And the presenter. Come on, big up Scott Jackson all the time. You know, these people know their roots. You know what I mean? So it's like, get on board, guys. Everybody from all generations, get the fuck on board. You know.
I like that. Another question from
my friend Papuni.
My friend Papuni.
I love having those little one-off shots on this loop station.
Dude, I love it.
It makes me laugh. All right.
My friend Papuni.
Would also like to know, since something that I kind of touched on a little bit, but he's acting very, very, I guess, Swiss and direct. So you've been touring and performing for years now. And how should a beatbox artist equip themselves, not only mentally for life on the road? What else do you do to keep yourself healthy? Do you play sports? What about nutrition? And what can you advise for the next generation of beatboxers who will be touring?
I go to gym every day. I go to gym at least 6 times a week. And I think that kind of offset. I mean, you know, all jokes aside, I think maybe I could do like toning down the drink a little bit. Not that I'm like drinking every day or anything stupid like that. I have these kind of impact days where it's like, I'm going harder and I'm going home. you know, I do it to exhaustion, and you know, it kind of does offset some things. So I guess do what you want to do that's within your abilities, but make sure that you do the other things that make you perform and be better physically and mentally as a human. Yeah. And also, when going on tour and stuff, it does become like a bubble. And I know it sounds really like extreme, but there can be this PTSD effect where you've been on road for so long, and to declimatize into something real normal and everyday, the ego don't like that. The mental state don't like that. It doesn't. So all the habits you picked up on tour will inevitably fall in sync with what everyday normal life is. So just be mindful of like the habits you keep.
That is a very good from somebody that's been on tour with some of the best and had the opportunity to do crazy amounts of shows. That is definitely a truth. Last but not least,
my friend Papuni
wants to know,
my friend Papuni,
if you look back at your career, do you see something that you would change? And is there something that you think you could have done better?
No, I don't have any regrets on the things I could have done better, because it was all in the time. It was all of its time. So I don't have any. You know what? I don't have any regrets of. No, I don't have any regrets. I am what I am. Here's what it is. And the only thing I will say though is the only underpinning thing that troubles me, particularly as I'm getting older and things around me are getting older, I wish I'd seen my family more. Now, by design, I'm not going to achieve that, because if my intention is always, I'm going to go and do a gig, I'm going to concentrate on music, I'm going to do a podcast, everything's labor intensive, blah, 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 music, work, you're not really putting that energy out. But as my family are getting older, my mum and dad are getting older, I think that's something I need to remedy. Do you know what I mean? Because that could become a regret you know what I mean? It's a tough one. It's a tough one because you are what you are, but that's something I think I need to kind of fix.
Yeah, well, I mean, if people are still around and stuff, I'm not sure about any of these things, but there's time for you to go make those decisions. And you know what I found that has been it's a hard part of this time in the world's history for you to go physically and see them and be with people that you love or want to go and start up or continue on relationships with. But the ability to go and have the technology in your hand to go and call somebody and just tell them you're thinking about them is a huge. It's just such a huge thing to actually take the time and, you know what, make that call and see where it goes, because, you know, that opportunity is there.
I swear to God, man, like with every year that passes, it's just a funny one. As a 42-year-old guy, you don't ever think to yourself you're going to be an artist at 42. You just don't ever think it, you know. And then I see all my other peers, and I'm like, well, they're doing it, you know. Lemmy from Motorhead did it. Lemmy from Motorhead did it all. You know. Rahzel's still doing it, you know. But something suffers. Something always suffers, and you just got to try and manage that damage.
100%. But that can be said though, I guess, from the guy who's a roofer and roofs all day, doesn't do anything else but roof day in day out, and comes home tired and just wants to fall asleep. They're not gigging, but they're doing it in different aspects. So it's as you said, when something excels, something needs to suffer, and these things just mutual to each other, right? Yeah,
it's true, isn't it? I mean, and relationships as well, like girlfriend relationships. You know, if you put too much focus on one thing, that always offsets everything else, doesn't it? Always. Isn't that weird how that works?
Yeah, it's I don't understand it either. Sometimes you look at it's like one of those like a sand. You know, you turn over, and if you have relationships and family and, you know, love life or whatever, sand goes down that one into artistry and trying to go and work and take care of this stuff, and then you realize, oh shoot, I need to flip it back over, and then it starts going the other way, and you're like, wait a second, I gotta go and not forget about it, then keep on flipping it, and it's a hard thing to try to control sands. It's gotta be
control sands, you know? I like that. That's true. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, you're right. That's a job in itself. That's the real battle, ladies and gentlemen. That's the real battle. Time is the battle.
I agree with you. Right there, live and direct, though.
And listen, I do have to big you up, Scott. You know, with all of this, you know, rubbing of me as a guest, I have to say you're a don. You're killing it. You're doing your thing, and honestly, I love the fact that you're diversifying in so many ways, because you're a tour de force of yourself. You know what I mean? You're bona fide, and it's the real deal. What he's doing here is the real deal, and it's been awesome, man. Thank you.
Oh man, I appreciate that. Thank you for coming on, and yeah, man, that's kind of where that makes a young kid getting Michael Jordan being like, nah, you got a nice jump shot. So thanks, man. Or for the Canadian folk, Wayne Gretzky being like, good slap shot, kid.
Yeah. Little pat on the back, that one. No, big ups, good vibes. I
appreciate it. People have been watching this whole time, and we have a list of questions from the audience. So, ladies and gentlemen, right here live and direct, a few questions that came in. Big ups to Hydefield, by the way, running the stream and picking up these questions that you guys asked throughout the show. First question from the audience is, I believe we already answered this, but I'll ask it because I want to make sure. Do you think you'll be releasing any new music, or are you focusing solely on the live podcast right now?
The music's intertwined with the podcast and the television network. So there is a body of work in there. I've done one tune that's been a signature to a couple of the shows that I do, that I have actually put verses on. There's this one with a bunch of grime MCs, which is awesome. So that's one done. And then there's another one. There's a couple. I would say it would be like a compilation, like the Killa Kela podcast presents compilation with the tunes that are off the shows, you know, and twisted up with MCs and special guests who have been on the podcast. You know what I mean?
I like that. That'd be cool. Best of podcast compilation. I like that. Television. Yeah. All right. All right. Let's see. Ish. Someone says, I see you haven't aged since the 2000s. What's the secret?
Tell me. I don't know. Have young friends. Have young friends, think youthful, don't have kids. Don't have kids.
All right. Let me see right here. Who is your favorite artist that you've collabed with? thus far in your career, if you had to pick one?
Best collab.
No pressure.
No pressure. I mean, the one that does stick out is Pharrell, because I was just so green. I was just like, it just blew my mind. It was like a trial of destruction. One side, the whole premise of me even meeting him was my sound man at the time was friends with all the sound men, and they got wind that Pharrell was doing a live surprise show at the London Astoria in central London. And then I'd heard from somebody that he had seen my beatboxing somewhere. And that was just me guessing. I had no clue. I had no proof that he had seen this thing, but someone had told me in Germany that someone had showed him a video of me beatboxing. I'm like, all right, cool. So I made all endeavors to make it happen. I hid inside the back of this DJ booth, waiting for 5 hours until he popped up for his sound check with NERD. And literally, we had the mic ready. I went down there into the middle of the floor. The lightsman put two beams, like as if it was like something out of a Jedi movie or some shit. And he was on the floor with me, face to face, and I literally hurled beatbox vernacular at him. And at that point, my world changed. I was getting, like, you know, those kind of self-fulfilling prophecy things. Like, this was the real deal. It was one of those ones where it's like you really put in the work, and it happened without any consideration of thinking that he wouldn't have known or heard of my beatboxing. But I just was on a mission in my head thinking, well, yeah, cool, I'm going to meet him. All right, I'm going to do this now. Okay, I've just done it. Oh, shit. And next thing, this trail of destruction. I got calls from Tim Westwood. I got calls from BBC. I got calls from Billionaires Boys Club. He'd say, come to this show, come to that show. And it went on for a good while. And I just kept on the coattails of it. Sometimes I purposefully made myself in a location because I wanted to perform with him. And he was just so gracious and cool and chilled. He was just like he still is like the nicest dude. So, yeah, that was a big one.
That was a
Sorry,
cool
I went
story.
off there.
No. That's a cool story. I like the sitting waiting and then the spotlights come out and he's coming. Going showing what's up, and of course he's seen me.
Yeah. Just foolishness, but yeah, that's the way it goes, isn't it?
All right, last question from the audience. Let me see. Okay, well, maybe there's two. We're going to go and ask you, what is the biggest audience you performed in front of, and how do you come over nerves when you see a sea of people?
48,000 people at Glastonbury, opening for the Pyramid stage at halftime of the football that was this particular year they had the World Cup on. What they wanted to do, they wanted me to perform halftime just to keep the interest of people while football was off. And I was like, yeah, man, I'm the first one to perform at Pyramid stage. Cool. But it was the biggest crowd because of the football. It was like the biggest. And nerves, you don't really feel them when there's that many people. It's weird. You just don't. That's just too big amount of people. The nervous ones are the ones. I mean, I would imagine. I mean, I've never been in a beatbox battle. I imagine that was pretty intense. You know what I mean? Like, I know you guys are all friends and it's all love over there, you know, love. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you're going to battle and you want to win. But I would definitely get the feeling like, fuck that. It's too much for me, man. So, yeah, in terms of nerves, I think you guys have got a lot more nerve than I have, for real.
All right. Let's go and see. Maybe I was trying to read this one. One more question. Let's go and see. Oh, I misread that one. That was already answered. But someone wants to know and go like, how was it to go and work with Supernatural?
Oh, Supernatural is great. That's an old school one. Again, well, here's what happened to that one. Because I actually played the day before. And then the promoter turned, because I wasn't living in London at the time. I was sofa surfing. Well, I was living, but I was everywhere. And I remember he asked me, in the after party, the promoter said to me, oh, Supernatu's coming tomorrow. I was like, what? And he goes, yeah, and he wants you to beatbox for him. And I was like, yeah, that's mad. You know what I mean? My first thought was, I need to stop drinking right now. And that was the first thing. I was like, okay, stop everything. But then the second thing was, oh, man, I haven't even got any clothes. I literally was going to go home after this. I was going to just freaking finish. But then this happened. And as you know, as far down the line as I didn't even have a spare pair of pants, to I hadn't even performed with him before. to what we did on stage was so freestyled. That was just like a crazy experience. So yeah, the whole thing that was another whirlwind where if I could bottle that moment, I would. It was so good. It was so good.
I agree. I had the opportunity to meet him one time when I was doing something in Vegas and just doing this booth thing, both of us. That it was just cool because I walked him like, like I know you. You did a lot of cool stuff that I watched. And anyways,
you know what? And it's funny the things that people the people have in their memory as like defining moments. I'm sure you get this as well, Scott. People remember you from things that you're like, yeah, you remember me for that? Because all those things that you thought were earmarked as being like, you know, seminal moments in anyone's career, that kind of gets over. My dad's the worst for this, right? So for years it'd be like, yeah, I still don't quite get that beatbox thing. You know what I mean? You know, you'll go and do something with the likes of a Supernatural or a Pharrell or a Snoop or something like that, and you're like, yo, Dad, check this. I did this, and it's just nothing. But then as soon as you go and do something with Simon Cowell involved, do you know what I mean? Then all of a sudden you're taken seriously. That's real serious. Yeah. Oh. Yeah. You know what I mean? I mean, I'm not saying he's not proud.
I agree.
You know what I'm saying?
No, my dad's very, very, very similar in the way that, you know, like you got featured on what was it, for the Virgin Mobile thing with Britain's Got Talent, and then you got that thing. I did something in Canada here. I did Canada's Got Talent, got to the finals, and then my dad.
That's right. Yes, you did. Come on, Gun.
But I just remember my dad, like, forever and always. Just he's a great guy. I love him, Bobby J. But it just made me laugh because he'd just be like, I don't like same thing. Like, I don't know, man. Like what do you like? I don't get it. Like that hip hop thing, you know. And he'd be, then all of a sudden he sees it and he gets the opportunity to see it and has people telling him like, oh, your son did that, or like whatever. I guess it's other people that he respects and his peers are telling him like, your son's doing all right here, you know, like don't worry about it. Get that reinforcement of like, you done good, kid.
Yeah, totally. It's a funny one. And again, you know, it's just great that people remember these things. You know what I mean? Full stop. You know, always. Yeah, it's good. It's good. You killed that one, by the way. You did.
It was all right. I can't, you know what I always laugh at too when you said you wanted everything filmed and you want the opportunities, because I think there's gonna be some funny, like the generation of beatboxers that are gonna be the old dudes sitting around having a tea with somebody like, I was with Pharrell and sure you were.
Yeah.
Like, all right, let's get this guy over here.
What do you reckon? Do you reckon like the future of AI and things like that? I mean, I do strongly believe that beatboxing and the way it's going, I mean, come on, it's already transcending language barriers. You know, we've got and I always knew it would do. When I started going out to China, I was like, yo, this place is gonna blow. It's gonna blow. I remember I was one of the first beatboxers that a couple of people from these like small villages outside, but in between like China and I don't know, Russia, they didn't have their own language because of this thing. And they didn't know which side of the fence they were on, so to speak. But when they heard me and Rahzel, beatboxing started becoming their kind of go-to language and sport. And this was back in like 2006, should I say 2007? It's crazy. Just knew from then. I was like, yo, this is going to be. And I think that's the future. I think this is going to turn into a real language, isn't it? It's going to turn into its own language.
That is possible. Well, okay, you were right before.
Here's my theory.
No, man, but for real, like that is interesting to think about, because again, with the thing with Reeves and I'm looking at what he did and just the ability for him to go and basically beatbox into a program. The program, he beatboxes for however long, I think he's like an hour or something like this, but that program to go and read it and then be able to replicate stuff, but also make it randomized. So it had, you know, the artificial intelligence is just getting running. So eventually it came back at him and did stuff where maybe he was saying that he never even thought of, not even that he hadn't thought of it, but he had never done it like the way that it did it back to him, you know?
Crazy.
So like there is definite possibility of learning involved with making it the next thing, and also the opportunity of maybe being able to communicate with there being actual things understood of going from just beatboxing, and someone's like, oh, so that guy wants to go and have a tea, or who wants to go and have, Sure. And you want butter on that? All right, cool. I'll go get that.
Yeah, there's this Esh thing. You know, I only heard about. Yeah, can you tell me about that? What's the Esh thing?
Oh, you got to go and watch. You got to go and watch the meeting of Esh.
Okay.
It's Firebrass. Firebrass will explain it.
And you know, I'll take Firebrass, of course. Yeah, see, when that in itself is a suggestion, isn't it? That one thing alone is a suggestion of what the possibilities. And that's the thing with this generation now. I think it's a. All right, they copy each other. They do copy each other. That does my head in. But maybe that's the order of the day. It's a kind of thankless task in a way because they're contributing to something that actually will actually serve to the next generation of beatboxers. And I guess we all have that in our heads. Like, we want to stake a mark. We want a Killa Kela snare, or we want a D-Lo zip scratch. We all want to have a name of something after us. That's one thing. But to have that thankless task of like creating a thing that's contributive to a bigger thing, that's like the most rawest of artistry you could ever have, isn't it?
But I think I think it's not a thankless task necessarily because you get to go and see it. You can, and even if you don't necessarily see it, you can hope and you can think that in your mind something positive will happen out of the groundwork. My contribution will not be unthought of, and future generations are maybe going to be like, hey, like that was that thing. That was an idea. That was a mood that someone brought to a table. That was a, it's interesting to see what I guess legacy, or not even legacy, but like this what you're adding to the, what are you adding to the soup? What do you add to the soup?
Yeah.
Oh, tapestry is a good one.
yeah, you're right.
I said soup.
Yeah, you said soup. Well, I could go with that. It's true though, isn't it? I guess it is a really cool thing. It's a really cool thing. So yeah, big up us, big up the beatbox scene. That's
yeah. And now something that's been asked by a lot of people thus far, one thing that I got to ask you to do. I got to ask you before we jump off of here. I got to ask you, because people want to know, would you drop some beats for the people that have been watching and people are going to watch this at home live and direct right on Beyond the Beats? Will you drop something for us?
Thank God you said that. Yes, I can do that for you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Beyond the Beats, Killa Kela, about to go and drop some stuff. You already know what to do. I said 3. Y'all at home say the 2 and the 1 in 3.
How's that?
Yo. Yes.
All the familiar Killa Kela sounds in one.
Yeah, man. Every time. Every time. Well, that put a smile on my face.
Wicked, my brother. Thank you so much again, man. It's a buzz. I hope everyone else is feeling the vibe. And yeah, man, check out the Killa Kela podcast.
Yeah.
Subscribe on that one. Yeah, man.
Where can people go and find your stuff? I know you got Kelavision on YouTube. That's where you upload a lot of the stuff to. You have Killa Kela Official on Instagram, Killa Kela on Facebook. So,
yeah, that's the one.
And you have Spotify going. So, ladies and gentlemen.
That's the one. Oh, and the Kelavision app. That's coming in next month. Yeah, in November. That's coming.
That's coming. Things coming soon.
It's coming. Yeah, man.
That voice.
Thank you so much. Oh yeah, come on.
I love that voice, man. I love that voice. You did that. I remember one little time. Even we were so close to being now, but you did the intro for Perez Hilton's podcast thing, and that voice just can't cut through so hard. I'm like, that's super hard.
But I was buzzing. I got like Perez Hilton hit me up and said, his people hit me up and said, hey, do you want to do the? Yeah, I was like, yeah, I'll have some of that. Dope. Yeah. That's just
But yo,
another weird. There's another mad one. But yeah, that's another story.
There's endless stuff. We'll do this again sometime, man.
Yeah, for real, for real. If you have me, I'll be gladly happy to.
All right. So, well, anyways, yo, real quick, ladies and gentlemen, for real though, make sure you go and check it out. He has interesting guests in the entirety of hip hop coming on to go and share their knowledge. There's people that are going to be talking about stuff that you're interested in, and if you're not, well, give it an opportunity, and you might be, because the way he does it is like no one else. And that can be said from his beatboxing to the artistry that he's accomplished so far. He's pushing the scene. Nothing but love from Scott Jackson. Nothing but love from Swissbeatbox. And I'm happy that I can call you up here, and it's good to see your face, brother. So thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me, guys.
Support this man.
Enough respect.
Right there. Beyond the Beats. Episode 27. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for tuning in. I'm Scott Jackson. This has been Beyond the Beats, episode 27, with the one, the only, legendary Don Pioneer. I can keep going on with different things. What would you say? The maddest madman that ever met? Something like that when you were introducing someone time. But ladies and gentlemen, absolute legend, Killa Kela. Go check him out. Support him. And I love you guys. Aside from that, like this and like that, enjoy the rest of your day, night, evening. Stay safe out there, and we'll talk to you next time. Find out what's happening beyond the beats. And that's time.